My sister-in-law has a secret. Da Jen, you must be impatient. Sister-in-law just finished washing. I'll wash you right now. It will be cool soon. A woman with wet hair walked into the house with a basin of water. Her name is Song Hanxiang, with delicate features and a slim waist. Because there was only one unconscious vegetative person in the house, she didn't have so many scruples. After taking a bath, she only wore a simple white sling, and even more boldly came in with only a piece of loincloth underneath. There were some water drops hanging on her slender legs, just like freshly picked tender lotus roots, which seemed to be able to bite out a lot of juice in one bite. While speaking, she put the basin of water on the head of the kang. The white little hands rubbed the towel inside, making a sound of water washing. As a vegetative person, Yi Da Jen was tense and at a loss. Because just before Song Hanxiang entered the house, he had just regained control of his body. At this moment, the cold towel was already on his face. Soft fingers inadvertently brushed across his face, and Yi Da Jen's heart instinctively tightened, while Song Hanxiang's face also became hot, staring at Yi Da Jen infatuatedly and lost in thought. Under her meticulous care, Yi Da Jen's body not only did not change after lying for more than a year, but his face became even whiter. This good-looking skin, let alone in the village, would definitely kill those big-faced dogs on the internet. Before he fell into a coma, Yi Da Jen was also very capable. After graduating from university, he opened a clinic in the county. Including the big house that their two families now live together, it was all built with money from Yi Da Jen. It's a pity that the villagers, including her, didn't know what happened a year ago. Anyway, the high-spirited young man turned into a vegetable. When the hospital sent him back, he was already in a coma. No one cares about the poor living in the downtown, but the rich have distant relatives in the mountains. Such a vegetable who needs people to take care of him when eating, drinking, defecating and urinating, everyone can't hide, who will care about him? Originally, Song Hanxiang had to finish the 3-year mourning period for her husband, and her mother-in-law would let her remarry, but at this time, she resolutely chose to stay and take care of Yi Da Jen with the old lady. At that time, many people gave her a thumbs up, saying that Yi Da Jen, the god's sister-in-law, was responsible. But the old lady passed away in a rage because of the relocation of the grave half a year ago, and the taste changed. People's mouths are stinky, as the old saying goes. There are no filial sons in front of the bed of a long-term patient, and there are many gossips in front of a widow's door. When the old man was still alive, Song Hanxiang helped take care of Yi Da Jen, which was the greatest filial piety. But now that the old man is gone, she must be taking care of him for something. Some people said that Yi Da Jen had been rich before and gave the old lady a lot of money, and she wanted that money. Some people even said that she used Yi Da Jen as a tool to relieve the suffering of the long night. After all, since the day he came back, Xiao Yi has been standing there like an antenna, year after year, making many women in the village jealous. In short, there are all kinds of ugly rumors. Song Hanxiang sighed and lifted the thin blanket on him. Although this was not the first time, every time after that, her heart would beat wildly and it would take a long time for her to calm down. She bit her lower lip tightly, as if she had made a difficult decision. Da Jen, wake up quickly. If you don't wake up, I'm afraid your sister-in-law won't be able to take care of you for long. I've heard of a folk remedy before. If you want to wake you up, you must give you enough stimulation, but I'm shy and I haven't dared to. But now, I have nowhere to retreat. If you don't wake up, I don't know how long I can take care of you. Yi Da Jen felt something was wrong the more he listened. What does the sister-in-law want to do? However, the next second, an exciting voice came to his ears. Jing Dong is a little hot. What a familiar opening. Song Hanxiang clicked on the video and put it directly next to Yi Da Jen's ear. At this moment, her face was so embarrassed that she could even drip blood. But she was a weak woman, and now she only had the strength to tie a chicken. Yi Da Jen felt as if he had been electrified all over. He never expected that in order to wake him up, his sister-in-law would actually do needlework for him. The guilt in his heart reached the extreme, but the excitement was really unbearable. But should I wake up now? If I don't wake up, my sister-in-law will be disappointed. Waking up, it seems too embarrassing, right? Teacher Zhu Lian said that you can never wake up a person who pretends to be asleep. Forget it, I'll listen to Teacher Zhu. At this moment, he felt that he was both despicable and shameless, but more of it was the kind of secret pleasure that was both evil and exciting. Whatever you want. If you miss this opportunity, you may never have it again. Anyway, he had already thought about it for more than a year, and he would marry her when he woke up. However, just when he was about to continue to be a vegetable, someone suddenly knocked on the window. "Hey, Hanxiang, what are you doing in the house?" The familiar old smoky voice, with a hint of evil smile, scared Song Hanxiang so much that she quickly stood up and turned off her phone in panic. Yi Dajian's heart sank. Who else could it be if not his cheap father-in-law, the village chief Li Changhai? He and Li Changhai's daughter were betrothed to each other. After Yi Dajian's parents died, Li Changhai should have come forward to take care of her. Yi Dajian was still young at that time, but the family didn't even let him in. If his godmother hadn't taken him in out of pity, he wouldn't be where he is now. After graduating from college, he opened his own clinic. If his girlfriend hadn't betrayed him, he might never have had any contact with her again in his life. But it was because of this that he discovered that Li Changhai was not only heartless, but also a hypocrite who was righteous in front of others but despicable and vulgar behind their backs. Fuck, he is already so old, and he married a young wife only a few years ago, but he is still not satisfied, and has been thinking about his sister-in-law. I really can't understand, how can such a scumbag give birth to a daughter as generous and kind-hearted as Li Xiaowan? Could it be that Li Xiaowan is also two-faced? No matter how hard he tries, Li Changhai is the village chief after all, and he has been since he can remember. After so many years of ups and downs, the old village chief's position is deeply rooted. Who in the whole Xiaoliu village dares to challenge him? He is sure that even if the news of Li Changhai visiting the widow in the middle of the night gets out, in the end, the dirt will only be splashed on Song Hanxiang. Song Hanxiang is like a child who has done something bad and is almost discovered by his parents. She quickly covers Yi Dajian with a blanket. Then he angrily cursed, "Li Changhai, I locked the door outside, how did you get in?" Through the curtains, Li Changhai didn't know what happened in the room, but he was too familiar with the faint noise coming through the window. "Of course I climbed over the wall to come in. I came to see if you took advantage of my cheap son-in-law." Li Changhai laughed, "Open the door, I want to check." "Bar, you can say that, if you really think Dajian is your son-in-law, you won't use your power for personal gain to move my man's grave, and you won't use this matter to force me to give birth to a son for you in front of my mother-in-law. Bullying my mother-in-law to death. Li Changhai, God is watching what you do, I will avenge this sooner or later." Song Hanxiang was so angry when she mentioned this matter that her voice broke. "Stop talking nonsense, open the door." Li Changhai smiled coldly at the window, "You have to provide evidence when you speak. You are really stupid. Instead of hiding at home to watch movies at night, why did you run away at noon? Open the door quickly. I suspect you are plotting something bad against my son-in-law. Otherwise, I will call for help." Chapter 2. The fiancé is here. "Li Changhai, do you still have any shame?" Song Hanxiang's voice trembled with anger when she heard this. "I'll count to 3. Either you open the door and let me in, or I'll shout that you're plotting against my son-in-law. You can see whether people will believe you or me," Li Changhai said shamelessly. Song Hanxiang pulled her nightgown over her body, gritted her teeth, picked up the scissors on the cabinet and opened the door. Li Changhai walked into the room with the smell of alcohol, staring at Song Hanxiang's graceful figure, not hiding the greed in his eyes. He walked forward with a playful smile, and Song Hanxiang stepped back nervously. Li Changhai seemed to enjoy the feeling of cat and mouse. He smiled and sat next to Yi Dajian. "Let me see if you did anything bad just now." He didn't care about the scissors in Song Hanxiang's hand and directly lifted the blanket on Yi Dajian. But Song Hanxiang had already wiped it clean, so how could there be evidence of the crime? Disappointed as he was, Li Changhai's heart suddenly soured when he saw Yi Dajian. Drought kills, flood kills. Why is he still like a donkey when he is already a vegetable? It is said that jealousy changes a person beyond recognition. Li Changhai drank some more wine, raised his hand, picked up a flower, and flicked it hard. The whole action was smooth and flowing. Yi Dajian's breathing stagnated. Family. Who can understand this kind of pain? You treat me as your son-in-law, and you flick my big baby? Are you still a human being? After flicking the person, Li Changhai felt much better. He raised his head and laughed. "Hanxiang, if you had obeyed me earlier, why would you have ended up like this? Although I am old, I have many tricks. As long as you obey me, from now on, I will ensure that you will have a good life." "Shut up, you are already an old man, I am only 2 years older than your daughter, can you have some shame? Song Hanxiang raised the scissors in a rage. Get out of my house. I gave you shame, didn't I? Li Chanhai stood up. You have shame, can you have a good life? Not only was he not scared by the scissors, on the contrary, the more the other party did this, the more excited he felt. I'm telling you, I didn't plan to leave when I came here today. Come on, uncle will definitely hurt you. Li Chanhai smiled and used the old pervert's common move in the air, dragon claw. However, at this moment, a hand appeared out of thin air and rested on his shoulder. Li Chanhai instinctively turned his head, and the face so close to him frightened him so much that he almost fainted. You, how did you wake up? Yi Daijin grinned, but his eyes were like knives. It seems you don't want me to wake up, father-in-law. Song Hanxiang felt disappointed when she heard the word father-in-law, and the scissors fell to the ground at this time. I don't know if it was bitterness or something, but her eyes were immediately covered with a layer of mist. Yes, the two families had a childhood marriage, and they are family. How dare I, a widowed sister-in-law, have any improper thoughts? How dare I? At this moment, Li Chanhai also recovered. Especially when I saw Song Hanxiang's expression, I knew that Yi Daijin had just woken up and must not know what happened just now. Ahem, how could that be? What can I do when I come to your house? Of course I'm worried about you. I always come when you're unconscious. Li Chanhai laughed dryly. It's good when you wake up, it's good when you wake up. Lao Bai stared. Sure enough, he still had that hypocritical face. He came a few times this year, but every time he left, his godmother and sister-in-law would cry. This kind of beastly bastard deserves to die. My father-in-law still loves me, Yi Daijin's eyes turned cold, and the strength in his hands suddenly increased. Li Chanhai grimaced in pain and said angrily, let go, what do you want to do, you little bastard? What do you want to do? I'll beat you. With a snap. Yi Daijin raised his hand and slapped Li Chanhai, making him spin in place. Fuck, you old man, you are really a jerk. You hit my baby. If it breaks, it's your daughter who will suffer. Li Chanhai never expected that the old village chief would be slapped. He didn't expect that the slap was given by his future son-in-law. This is a treason, a betrayal. What a shame. When has the high and mighty old village chief ever suffered such humiliation? He covered his face, shivered and shouted, little bastard, don't you take a piss to look at yourself. You still want to marry my daughter, dream. Yi Daijin secretly clenched his fist and said contemptuously, that's the marriage arranged by my mother and Aunt Li Wen. Li Xiaowan, I'm going to marry her. He wanted to kill this beast right now, but killing him was far from enough. Anyway, he was alive now, and there were plenty of opportunities to ruin his reputation and make him pay for his mistakes. So, if he wanted revenge, he didn't rush. As long as I'm here, don't dream in the daydream. Yi Daijin, you slapped me, and I'll come back sooner or later. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. Li Chanhai stamped his feet hard, turned around and ran away, and by the way, he didn't forget to glare at Song Hanxiang. Obviously, he also knew that he was not Yi Daijin's opponent. Once the other party knew about the previous things, he would definitely not give up. Staying would definitely be a disadvantage. Moreover, if he was not in the right today and really made a scene here and attracted the villagers, his reputation would be ruined. After watching the other party flee in panic, Yi Daijin quickly looked at Song Hanxiang standing next to the cabinet and comforted him, sister-in-law, don't be afraid. I'm here in the future, and no one will think of bullying you. Song Hanxiang was stunned for a moment, and then quickly covered her face. You, go back and lie down first, I'll find clothes for you. After that, she ran out with a red face like a little white rabbit that had just been fertilized. Yi Daijin then noticed that he had no clothes on, so he quickly pulled a blanket over himself and muttered, why are you embarrassed? It's not like I haven't seen it before. He suddenly shut up. If Song Hanxiang heard this, it would be so hurtful. If she hadn't taken care of me, why would she do this? Looking at the house cleaned up by his sister-in-law, he felt as if a heavy burden was on his shoulders. He walked to the cabinet, picked up the scissors, and then cut his fingers hard. In the face of the sharp edge, his fingers were completely unscathed. It's true. Yi Daijin couldn't hide his excitement. When he was hit by a club, his blood just activated the spirit dragon soul hidden in the family pendant. Over the past year, the remaining energy of the spirit dragon soul has not only transformed his body, but also transformed and reborn. It also enabled him to master the top-level secret method of seeking the way, the spirit dragon mind technique. A body of dragon skin and bones is invulnerable to swords and guns. A pair of dragon eyes can see through yin and yang. Even his internal organs have been strengthened. It can be said that if he has 2 horns on his head, he dares to say that he is the only little dragon man in the world. Wait, you bitch, wait, Li Changhai, your doomsday is not far away. Just at this moment, there was a faint sound of hurried footsteps outside the door. He thought it was Song Hanxiang who came back, but when he looked up, he saw a girl with delicate features and fair skin with twin ponytails appeared at the door. The moment she saw the person, the girl stopped, and her big almond eyes were immediately covered with mist. Da Zhen. Yi Da Zhen was stunned. She was none other than Li Changhai's only daughter, Li Xiaowan. But how did she come in naked? Did she just run all the way here? Is she crazy? Just when Yi Da Zhen was stunned, the girl threw herself into his arms like a fragrant breeze. Chapter 3, Bold Confession. What's going on? This feeling, it doesn't feel like skin, more like clothes. In an instant, Yi Da Zhen understood. It wasn't he that Li Xiaowan hadn't worn clothes, but that he had forgotten to close his yin-yang eyes during the earlier test. You bastard, I thought you'd never wake up in this lifetime. Li Xiaowan cried while pounding on him with her little pink fists. Yi Da Zhen's expression was complex. Her beauty was comparable to Song Hanxiang. If Song Hanxiang was a delicate peony, captivating and intoxicating, Li Xiaowan was a fresh and graceful peony, poised and elegant. She hadn't inherited Li Changhai's strange features, but instead, resembled her late aunt Li Wen, with 2 full, heavy balls on her chest. Her big eyes, cherry-like lips, and fair skin, as smooth as a freshly peeled egg, were full of collagen, making one almost want to bite into them. Apart from her height being a little short, she was flawless. Li Xiaowan had never wronged him. In fact, because of their arranged marriage, she had become an old maid, and when she could no longer take care of herself, she still cared for him along with Song Hanxiang. At this moment, he felt her affection for him even more. But his godmother had been killed by her father, Li Changhai, and that was like a thorn stuck deep in Yi Da Zhen's heart. He couldn't take revenge on her. Perhaps the only thing he could do was keep his distance. With that thought, Yi Da Zhen gently pushed her away and smiled. What are you doing here? I heard from my dad that you woke up, so I came to see you. How are you? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Li Xiaowan wiped her tears, unable to hide her joy, and quickly examined Yi Da Zhen's body. She noticed he was only covered by a thin blanket, but didn't sense anything wrong. After all, she had helped him clean himself so many times before, she wasn't even fazed by it. I'm fine. It's so late, you should go home, Yi Da Zhen said. He felt she deserved better, so he didn't want to be too involved with her anymore. Li Xiaowan thought he was concerned about her. Her cheeks flushed. It's fine, I'll stay here tonight and take care of you. That won't do. You should go home. I can take care of myself, Yi Da Zhen said. How can that be? Li Xiaowan stared at him intently, her attitude firm. Since she was little, her heart had been set on Yi Da Zhen. Unfortunately, he was like a block of wood while others went to the woods holding hands and kissing, they only collected firewood. As they grew up, they seldom met, and when they did, they didn't say much. She had waited from being a little girl to an old maid, and since their families had already arranged a marriage, if he didn't take the initiative, she would. After all, he was hers, no one could take him away. With that thought, Li Xiaowan suddenly stood on tiptoe and hooked her arm around his neck. Xiaowan, you? Yi Da Zhen began, but before he could finish, her cool lips sealed his mouth. Yi Da Zhen, if you don't marry me now, I might never marry anyone else. People are already having babies, but I've never even tasted the experience of being a woman. So today, I'm not leaving. Li Xiaowan let go of Yi Da Zhen, gasping for air. You're being reckless. If your father finds out you're not going home, he'll break your legs, Yi Da Zhen said, his mind blank. Don't worry. I saw him fall. Even if he wants to hit me, he doesn't have the strength. Plus, I have my stepmother to back me up, Li Xiaowan said boldly. Besides, since we've already kissed, if you try to chase me away, I'll just tell everyone you slept with me, and you'll have no choice but to marry me. Just as Yi Daijin was at a loss, footsteps came from outside the door. Hearing the noise, Li Xiaowan quickly pushed him away, adjusting her slightly messy hair, then turned to face Song Hanxiang, who was entering with clothes. She greeted her sweetly, "Sister-in-law. Xiaowan, you're here. I brought 2 sets of clothes for Daijin." Song Hanxiang awkwardly nodded and placed the clothes on the kang bed. "You can wear these for now. I'm cooking in the other room, I'll bring it over in a while." "Thank you, sister-in-law." Yi Daijin said a polite thank you, but it made Song Hanxiang feel a bit distanced. She realized her position and nodded, grabbing Li Xiaowan's hand. "Xiaowan, he just woke up and needs to rest. It's late, don't talk for too long." Upon hearing this, Li Xiaowan immediately became concerned. Yes, he had just woken up, why was she in such a rush? She heard that doing that could be exhausting, and if she tired him out, he might not wake up again. Would she really become an old maid? "Got it, sister-in-law. You go ahead with your work," Li Xiaowan said. "All right." After watching Song Hanxiang leave, Li Xiaowan gave Yi Daijin a resentful glance. "I'll let you go this time. Rest for a few days, then we'll talk about our future." Saying this, she quickly leaned forward and kissed his cheek before blushing and running out. Yi Daijin smiled bitterly. Li Xiaowan was indeed a good girl. Marrying her would surely bring happiness. Unfortunately, he quickly dismissed these impractical thoughts and put on the clothes. After changing, Yi Daijin saw Song Hanxiang entering with a steaming bowl of yangchun noodles. From the moment she entered, she noticed Yi Daijin staring at her, his gaze full of longing, which made her nervous and even a bit panicked. Her heart, which had just calmed down, was once again in turmoil. She didn't know how to face Yi Daijin now that he had woken up. She couldn't even bear to look at him while speaking. Worried that he might have sensed something, she quickly placed the food down, nervously pinching her earlobe. "Eat while it's hot, then rest early. Are you all right?" Yi Daijin didn't know what to say to make things less awkward. After all, apart from spending the past year or so together, they hadn't interacted much before. They only spoke during the holidays, exchanging a few words. "I'm fine. Though I don't know what happened at the time, since you've woken up, we can live a good life from now on, understand?" "Understood. I'll listen to you from now on." Yi Daijin smiled awkwardly. "Sister-in-law, thank you. We're family. Don't be so polite. Finish eating and go to bed." Before he woke up, it was one feeling. Now, with a living person sitting beside her, it was another. She felt suffocated, and even her tone of voice felt a little unnatural. She quickly tidied her things and went back to her own room. The noodles smelled delicious. Sister-in-law had put in effort. But Yi Daijin ate as if chewing wax. It was clear that she wanted to completely move out of this room and distance herself from him. Just as she was about to leave, Yi Daijin suddenly realized something. If he couldn't even express his feelings, all the talent in the world would be wasted. He put down his chopsticks, stood up, and hugged her from behind. "Sister-in-law, stay. From now on, I'll take care of you." Suddenly being hugged by him, Song Hanxiang felt like she had been electrocuted. A blush spread up her neck to her face, and her breath instinctively became rapid. But soon, reason took over. He had a childhood fiancée, what was she? "Daijin, you don't do this. You should take care of yourself first. The other room hasn't been lived in for a while, I need to clean it up. I'll go over now." Song Hanxiang struggled to break free from Yi Daijin's embrace, hurriedly picked up her packed things, lowered her head, and rushed out. She was probably walking too fast because she tripped on the door frame. "Sister-in-law." Yi Daijin rushed to chase after her. At that moment, Song Hanxiang waved her hand in panic. It's fine, you should rest early." She limped away toward the next courtyard and slammed the door shut. Yi Daijin's house was originally shared by both families, side by side. Later, when Yi Daijin became successful, he built a house and even added his godmother's family to the construction. He hadn't planned on returning, intending to give the house to his godmother's family. But his godmother, with foresight, added a wall in the middle, saying that one day if he returned, he'd at least have a place to call home. Thus, both sides had a gate, separated by a wall with a small door in the middle. Time passed, and his childhood friend had an accident. Now, his godmother had also passed away. Even the hard-working sister-in-law had been frightened by him. At this moment, Yi Daijin wished he could slap himself. Chapter for true but hurtful. Li Chanhai yelled at the top of his voice, "I was right, wasn't I? I passed by his house yesterday and heard some noise, so I suspected that Yi Daijin had woken up. If you wake up, you wake up. If you are sneaking around, you must be up to no good. Father-in-law, isn't that too much?" Yi Daijin raised his eyebrows. This old bastard really gave him face. "Shut up, I don't want a son-in-law like you, you are such a disgrace. We will know who went too far soon. Follow me into the house and you will know everything." Li Changhai waved his hand and walked into the house with his men, cursing. Soon he came out with murderous intent. "Let's go check that room, it's either this room or that room, they must be sleeping there." But he was soon disappointed again. He had witnessed Yi Daijin's violent temper yesterday, so he was worried that the other party would go crazy and attack him after knowing the cause of his godmother's death. Just go all out. While he has just woken up and his foundation in the village is not yet stable, pour a basin of dirty water on him so that he will never be able to turn over. It would be best if someone breaks his spine and he quietly rolls out of Xiaodiao village. As a result, it was clear that the people in the two rooms were sleeping separately, and there was no sign of a fight at all. How is this possible? Song Hanxiang has such a great figure and is so beautiful that he can't control himself. What's more, Yi Daijin is a grown man and has been a vegetarian for a whole year. Song Hanxiang remained a vegetarian for 4 years. When these two people meet, it's like dry wood meeting fire, but there is no spark. Which link went wrong? Father-in-law, have you had enough of this? Yi Daijin snorted coldly, the villagers are all watching. You are making such a fuss. Are you ruining my reputation or my sister-in-law's reputation? What are you up to? I did hear it. You don't feel guilty. Why don't you check it out? Li Chanhai straightened his neck. He knew that he must not be weak at this time. It must be said that he truly deserves the title of the smartest person in the village. He rolled his eyes and when one plan failed, he came up with another. While everyone is here, I'll be frank with you. Now that you're awake, the marriage between you and my daughter is off. Since there is no way to drive the other party away, it is better to settle the feud in public. In this way, unless Yi Daijin dared to kill himself, no matter how he threw dirty water on himself in the future, the villagers would think that Yi Daijin was narrow-minded. Credibility is naturally gone. It's the second best option and it won't solve the problem once and for all, but it's the best solution for now. The villagers are not the worms in his stomach, so they don't know what he is planning. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. This marriage was arranged years ago. Who in the village doesn't know about it? If Yi Daijin had remained lying unconscious, he would have regretted it, but now that he was awake, it was too late to regret the engagement. Li Chanhai, are you crazy? Li Xiaowan, who had just received the news and rushed over, also looked at her father in disbelief. No one noticed that there was a hint of joy on Song Hanxiang's face at this moment. But at this moment, Yi Daijin's words were like a basin of cold water, pouring cold water on her again. His words were powerful. You said you want to cancel the engagement? I'm telling you, you can't cancel the engagement. What was even more unexpected was that Li Xiaowan squeezed out of the crowd, directly hugged Yi Daijin's arm, and stood on the opposite side of her biological father. That's right, I don't agree to cancel the engagement either, and we've slept together a long time ago. Yi Daijin is my man. Boom. Everyone at the scene, including Yi Daijin, was shocked by these words. Li Chanhai's head buzzed. Is this still my precious baby? Ruin your own reputation and help others. Is there any daughter who would ruin her father's career like this? He said angrily, You stupid girl, what nonsense are you talking about? Come here quickly. I will never allow my daughter to marry someone with such indecent behavior. I'm behaving inappropriately. Yi Daijin laughed out of anger, and was ready to speak up for Li Xiaowan and her daughter. Father-in-law, my mother-in-law has only been gone for more than a year, and you married a woman who is almost the same age as your daughter. Aren't you ashamed to say this? As soon as the words fell, there was a burst of laughter at the scene. Village chief, you are so confused. Now that the misunderstanding has been resolved and the two children are childhood sweethearts, why would you cancel the engagement for no reason? That's right. Daijin is awake now. Why not have him have a double blessing and get the two children married while the iron is hot? It's time to sleep, so don't be silly. You may get to hold your grandson someday. Yes, yes, yes. It doesn't matter if you can't give birth to a son. You can have a grandson. Let the first boy they give birth to be named Li. Shut up, just shut up. Not having a son has always been a thorn in Li Changhai's heart. What the villagers said was undoubtedly like pouring salt on the pierced heart. He also didn't expect that he would be framed by his fellow villagers. If the engagement is cancelled, wouldn't his plan be in vain? She is not your daughter. I only have this one daughter, and I will never allow her to live a life of poverty with Yi Daijin. Li Changhai said anxiously. Sure enough, as soon as these words came out, everyone shut up. No one knows what happened a year ago. Yi Daijin used to be doing pretty well, but after being in a vegetative state for more than a year, it is still unknown whether he can make a comeback. After all, he was beaten into a vegetable. He must have offended some big shot who he cannot afford to offend, otherwise, why haven't the police given any explanation so far? As for the money left for his godmother. Har har, rumors are just rumors. Seeing that his words calmed the crowd, Li Changhai's expression eased a lot, and he said in a cold voice, don't say that I am ruthless. If you can come up with 880,000 yuan as a gift, I will marry my daughter to you today. 880,000. Do you think your daughter has a gold border? Yi Daijin was so angry that he didn't think at all. Li Xiaowan, who was holding his arm, was full of disbelief and unconsciously let go of his arm. It was obvious that she was hurt by his words. I stand by your side regardless of shame. You are unwilling to spend 880,000. See, silly girl? I don't have you in my heart at all. Come home with me and I'll find you someone who's 10,000 times better than this bastard. Li Changhai was extremely happy, but his face remained gloomy. He dragged Li Xiaowan with him and walked out without caring whether she agreed or not. Da Zhen, waking up is better than anything else. Yes, 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 a good man will never have trouble finding a wife. The villagers really didn't know how to persuade him. They simply said a few words of comfort and then quickly dispersed. After all, everyone is busy. Song Hanxiang closed the door, thought for a moment and walked forward to persuade her. Xiao Wan is a good girl. If you really like her, just wait. Anyway, you just woke up, it won't be too late to mention it after everything is on track. Sister-in-law, I won't marry her, no matter if I have 880,000 or not. Why? Song Hanxiang looked incredulous. You two are childhood sweethearts. Because I want to marry you. As he said that, Yi Daijin suddenly grabbed Song Hanxiang's hand and pulled her in front of him. Being held by those strong hands, Song Hanxiang felt flustered. So close, with that serious expression on his face and those eyes that were fixed firmly on me and could not be rejected. Where had Song Hanxiang ever had such an experience? Before this, she was just facing a piece of wood, and the couple had never quarreled, let alone argued. They can be said to respect each other like guests, but that's just respect for each other. Such a bold and explicit confession made that already pretty face turn red enough to look like blood dripping out. She instinctively turned her head to the side and said in a mosquito-like voice, Da Zhen, you let me go. It's not good for others to see us. It is said that gentle shyness is the most deadly poison for men. Yi Daijin felt like he was poisoned now. And the poisoning is so deep that there is no cure. Does your foot still hurt? Yes, a little bit. Song Hanxiang nodded. At this moment, Yi Daijin became even bolder and picked her up in a princess hug. What are you doing? Let me go. I'll go and heal your feet. Don't forget I'm a doctor. Yi Daijin smiled and walked into the house with her in his arms, regardless of what she thought. Song Hanxiang's breathing was a little rapid. Seeing Yi Daijin helping her take off her shoes, she quickly said, I'll do it myself. I'm a doctor, sit down. Yi Daijin squatted on the ground and grabbed her feet without saying a word. Your ankle is dislocated. You are so stupid. Why did you run yesterday? If I hadn't run away, you would have eaten me yesterday. Song Hanxiang subconsciously wanted to say this, but when the words were on the tip of her tongue, she swallowed them back. It was at this moment that Yi Daijin suddenly tapped her waist. The next second, Song Hanxiang was completely dumbfounded. What did you do to me? Why do I feel numb in my lower body? Seal your acupoints so that it won't hurt when I straighten your bones. Yi Daijin smiled. These are all skills from the Linglong mind technique. In the past, he was also good at Chinese medicine, but he was far from being able to do this. It's not that he didn't learn well. The main reason is that they have not mastered the use of qi and are unable to achieve the effect of acupoint tapping and meridian sealing. Now that he has mastered it, he can do it easily. As he spoke, he had already helped Song Hanxiang straighten her back, and then tapped her waist again. How does it feel? Song Hanxiang shook her ankle and said in surprise, it really doesn't hurt anymore. That's right. I'll be here for you from now on and make sure you stay healthy and safe. Yi Daijin raised his head and smiled. When their eyes met, Song Hanxiang was no longer so resistant. You are really capable. I don't have anything to do right now. Can you take me to see the new graves of my godmother and elder brother? I want to visit their graves. Hearing this, Song Hanxiang was stunned, as if she had figured out everything that was wrong yesterday. You know everything. Yi Daijin had nothing to hide, so he nodded and said, in fact, I have been conscious for more than a year, but unfortunately, I can't control my body. I know that Li Changhai threatened you with the relocation of graves. I also know that my godmother was angered to death by Li Changhai. I also know that you have been taking care of me. Then you also know what I said yesterday. Song Hanxiang's face changed and she immediately covered her face. If there was a crack in the ground, she would crawl into it. If your folk remedy wasn't so irritating, I wouldn't have recovered yet. Yi Daijin said with a smile. You also said. Okay, let's stop talking. Just take me to the grave. As for other things, don't worry about it. I will definitely avenge this. Yi Daijin gently grabbed her wrist and pulled her up. I won't let you suffer any more injustice. After returning from the grave, although Song Hanxiang still felt ashamed, she was obviously much more cheerful than before. When they entered the yard, Song Hanxiang noticed the roses in full bloom in the flowerbed and said in surprise, why are they all in bloom? You just discovered it. Yi Daijin was speechless. When you are happy, they will naturally open up. Go away, you're getting more and more frivolous. You're awake now, I'll cook some dishes and we'll celebrate. Song Hanxiang rolled her eyes at him unhappily and walked into the house first. Let's do it together. After the old lady left, a lot of money was spent on playing musical instruments and singing. There was no one left in this branch of his family, and he didn't get back many of the gifts he had given out before. The funeral almost emptied the family's savings. Moreover, Song Hanxiang had to take care of a vegetative patient, and the family had little income, so life was quite difficult. It was said to be a celebration, but there were only 4 dishes on the table. Stir-fry the beans from the field, braise the eggplants from the field, fry the peanuts from home, and add the green peppers from home and eggs laid by our own chickens. Song Hanxiang opened a half bottle of white wine left over from the previous work and poured a small glass for each person. Da Zhen, congratulations on your new life. Congratulations. Yi Daijin smiled and clinked glasses with her, then drank it all in one gulp. But I was thinking in my mind that I had to find a way to make some money and improve my living conditions. Song Hanxiang stuck out her tongue spicily, put down her wine glass and said, Xiao Wan is a good girl. Her father is her father and she is her. What you said today was too hurtful. I think you should go and explain to her. In fact, I think you two are really a good match. Yi Daijin smiled bitterly and was about to speak. Just then, there came a rhythmic sound of high heels stepping on the ground in the yard. Through the window, I saw a woman in her 30s with big wavy hair and wearing a light blue sexy hip-hugging skirt walking into the yard. Yuman Jiao. What is she doing here? They were both stunned. The person who came was none other than Li Changhai's young and beautiful wife from his second marriage. Chapter 5, Something is Wrong. It must be said that having a woman like Yuman Jie following Li Changhai is simply a waste of talent. The two were wondering what she was doing here. Yuman Jie's voice had already reached the house. Is Daijin busy? The father and daughter are not at home. My sore is blocked. Can you come to my house and help clear it? When she heard that they were looking for Yi Daijin's help, Song Hanxiang immediately said angrily, Don't go. What a jerk. If you are blocked, go find someone else. Why are you looking for me? You really can't tolerate idle people. In order to avoid losing content downloads during transfer, please try the ad-free reading app Ardu free novel app. It sounded very infuriating at first, but at the end, Song Hanxiang burst out laughing. Well, block it up for her, and let her vent her anger. Yi Daijin smiled awkwardly, put down his chopsticks and went out to greet him. Seeing Yi Daijin leaving the house, Yu Mingjiao's eyes were vague and she instinctively lifted her hair to hide her nervousness. Yi Dejin saw all of this and couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Who are you showing off to by scratching your head and posing? What did he say? There is indeed something wrong. Da. Dejin, can you go to my house to help? Yu Mingjiao cleared her throat and asked nervously. She was not sure whether it was right or wrong to come to Yi Dejin at this critical moment. After all, Li Changhai had just brought people to his house and caused a big fuss earlier. But what she never expected was that Yi Dejin agreed without even thinking about it. What are you talking about? We are all family. You go first. I'll get the tools and come right after you. After these words were spoken, Yu Mingjiao became unsure. Are you really willing to help me? When Xiaowan and I get married, we will be a family. Your family's affairs are my affairs. Yi Dejin continued to smile. You go first, I'll find some tools first. After saying that, Yi Dejin turned around and went back to their house. Yu Mingjiao stood there in a daze. This seemed to be completely different from what she had expected. Li Changhai bullied him like that, but not only was he not angry, he actually treated him as a family member. Did this kid get hit on the head and become stupid? Although it was completely different from what she thought, she was also glad that she found a good excuse. Otherwise, if he came here rashly and asked Yi Dejin to help him escape from the sea of suffering, maybe this kid would tell Li Changhai about it in a blink of an eye. As if she thought of something, she shuddered instinctively, turned around and walked quickly out, preparing to block the sore in her house first. As soon as I went out, I saw a middle-aged woman in her 50s, with a broad and fat body, sticking out her big butt and her head pressed tightly against the wall of Yi Dejin's house. Melon seed shells would occasionally come out of his mouth. Yu Mingjiao was startled and quickly glared at the other person. Aunt Wu, what are you doing? Ahem. I'm just passing by. Aunt Wu was discovered eavesdropping, but she was not embarrassed at all. Instead, she jokingly said, Sister-in-law, what are you doing at Yi Dejin's house? My son-in-law is awake, I came to check on him, what's your business? You, on the other hand, eavesdropped on other people's affairs, aren't you afraid of getting your ears rotten? Yu Mingjiao snorted lightly, without even looking at the other person, she held her head high and walked straight past her. No matter how she is at home, as the wife of the village chief, Yu Mingjiao is still very stylish outside. Especially in front of such gossip mongers who love to eavesdrop and spread gossip, I never show any sincerity. Breathing in the lingering fragrance in the air, watching that sexy little waist twist and disappear around the corner. Aunt Wu felt that the melon seeds in her hand no longer tasted fragrant. It is said that jealousy can change a person beyond recognition. She threw a handful of melon seeds to the ground and spit in the direction where Yu Mingjiao left. You shameless little bitch, you can't even say that about your son-in-law. You are so vain at such a young age, why would you choose someone else but a man older than your father? How dare you say that? Damn woman, bitch, who are you pretending to be? Do you think I don't know that Changhai got drunk at my house and called you a chicken that can't lay eggs? Perhaps she was too angry, and Aunt Wu's loud voice could not be stopped. Yi Dejin and Song Hanxiang were just about to go next door to get the wire when they heard it. Who's outside? Yi Dejin frowned. Ignore the wife of accountant Zhang Laowu, she's a nagging person. Song Hanxiang said with disgust. Most of the gossip between her and Yi Dejin was spread by this woman. It would be strange if she had a good impression of her. So it was her. I didn't expect that after so many years, she is still the same. It's really too much for Zhang Laowu. Yi Dejin said gloatingly. Don't mention her. It seems that there was a lot of wire left over from building the house and Mom put it away. I'll go over there and look for it for you. Yi Dejin nodded and followed her, but he had already written down fifth aunt in his little notebook in his mind. Xianliu village is not a big village, but it has more than 200 households. Zhang Lao's family lives in the west of the village, and his family lives in the east of the village. Why did she come to his door for no reason? Need I say more? Picking up the wire, Yi Dejin said, Sister-in-law, let me use your phone first. Here. Song Hanxiang didn't think much and handed the phone to Yi Dejin directly. The password is for 8s. Be careful and don't fall into Li Changhai's trap. Don't worry. Yi Dejin smiled, picked up his things and left the yard through another door. The village chief's home. Looking at the magnificent 3-story Western-style building in front of him, Yi Dejin felt that his father-in-law must have been greedy, and not a small one. He closed his eyes and released his spiritual sense, and everything within 100 meters immediately appeared in his mind. Even a couple arguing could be heard clearly. After retracting his spiritual sense, Yi Daijin couldn't help but scratch his head. He was sure that Yu Mingjie was the only one at home, and there was no trace of Li Changhai within a radius of 100 meters. This is strange. If he wanted to use his wife to bait a fishing hole, he should have ambushed the area. Forget it, now that I'm here, why should I be afraid of him? Thinking of this, Yi Daijin turned on the recording on his mobile phone and then knocked on the door. Soon, Yu Mingjie ran out to open the door. In just a short while, she actually changed her clothes. The loose white shirt just covered her plump buttocks, making her legs look long and thin. Their high heels were also replaced with homemade shoe soles, and the nails were painted light pink, which made her look cute. At this moment, she didn't look like a mature young woman, but rather like an older sister next door. Seeing Yi Daijin staring at her, Yu Mingjie couldn't help but blush. For some reason, she suddenly felt that her future son-in-law was quite good-looking. No wonder Li Xiaowan had always been obsessed with him. Come in quickly. As she spoke, Yu Mingjie had already dragged the person in. She looked outside and made sure that no one noticed before she closed the big iron door. Which door is blocked? Yi Daijin asked knowingly. Upstairs, follow me. After saying that, Yu Mingjie led Yi Daijin into their house. Although it is in the countryside, Li Changhai's house is decorated in an extremely luxurious way, with leather sofas, a 70-80-inch TV, and even a billiard stand in the middle of the living room. While other families in the village are still sweating for a penny, he has already taken the lead and is living a wealthy life. In the countryside, even if the family doesn't have any business, one can live such a wealthy life just by being a village chief. Even with your toes you can guess how this happened. Yi Daijin secretly made up his mind that even if it was not for revenge, for the sake of more than 200 households in the village, he had to get rid of this old pest as soon as possible. Yu Mingjie had no idea what he was thinking, so she quickly walked up the stairs and urged him, "Come up." Okay. Yi Daijin retracted his gaze and followed the stairs. Just looking up made me feel sick. Yu Mingjie was on top and he was on the bottom, and they saw that there was nothing underneath the loose shirt. There were only two white balls that made me dizzy. The white, he said, was truly white, without a trace of black. Yes, the weather is hot, but your house has central air conditioning. Isn't it too cool for you? At this moment, he was almost completely certain that Li Changhai wanted to use his wife to trick him. At this moment, Yu Mingjie turned around and looked down at him, smiling. Come up quickly and help me clear the way. Chapter 6: True Intentions. I'll be right there. Yi Daijin also wanted to take revenge on Li Changhai, so it would be a shame not to watch. Anyway, my phone is recording. He simply stopped pretending and looked directly at Yu Mingjie's white legs in front of her. Li Changhai can plot whatever he wants and see who will be embarrassed in the end. Yu Mingjie secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Yi Daijin was a gentleman. I showed it to him, but he wouldn't even look at it. In this way, my strategy should be successful. At that time, as long as Yi Daijin helps him, he will definitely be able to escape from Li Changhai's clutches. Thinking of this, she walked slowly on purpose, twisting her waist as she went up the stairs. Yi Daijin was feasting his eyes and couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Even though he knew that this was a bottomless pit waiting for him to fall into, he was still a strong young man after all. Soon, the two of them arrived at the bedroom on the third floor, one after the other. Yu Mingjie walked to the balcony, slowly bent down, supported her knees, and looked at the washing machine. The perfect attack route was aimed at Yi Daijin, who had just entered the room. A shirt is just a shirt after all, half covering and half revealing the two hemispheres, which made Yi Daijin's heart almost jump out. What the hell? Isn't he that too much of an expense? With his ability, he can sense everything within a radius of 100 meters. 100 meters may seem short, but when Li Changhai rushes over with his men and runs upstairs, he can completely erase any traces of the crime. Just as I was daydreaming about whether I should give my future father-in-law a big hat, I heard Yu Mingjie's charming voice coming over. "Da Zhen, come here, the traffic jam should be here. How can it be congested? I think it's very smooth, right?" Yi Daijin took a deep breath, forced himself to suppress his anger, and walked forward and said, "Let me see." The balcony was wet and there was a puddle of water that extended to under the fully automatic washing machine. It looked like it was really blocked. He pulled out the washing machine pipe, then poked a thin wire into it, and started to expand and contract it continuously. Is this really okay? Yuminjie said, blinking as she squatted beside him. Don't worry, it will be fixed soon. I used this method when the sore in my store was blocked before. As he was speaking, the hook in front of the wire seemed to have caught something. I quickly pulled it out and saw a black object hanging above my head. It turned out to be a pair of transparent lace panties. Yi Daijin was completely stunned and was about to ask if your washing machine was broken. At this moment, Yumingjie's face suddenly came close to Yi Daijin's ear. Stinky boy, do you like it? Yi Daijin trembled all over. But the anger was quickly suppressed by reason, and he quickly stood up and pushed Yumingjie away. Auntie, what are you doing? I'm helping you unclog the sore, and you ask me if your panties look good. What do you think of me? There was water under Yumingjie's feet, and Yi Daijin pushed her, so she sat down on the ground. Although it was a little painful, it was nothing compared to the pain he had endured before. But he also realized that Yi Daijin must have been hit in the head and became stupid. If you can't even see something so obvious, are you stupid? It seems that I have to be more direct, otherwise he won't understand at all. Thinking of this, she stood up directly by holding the bed. Da Zhen, do you hate Li Changhai? Yi Daijin's heart skipped a beat. Damn, what a good trick. Fortunately, he is not an ordinary boy. As the only college student in the village, his IQ is extremely high. He can even predict what the other party is going to say next. Sure enough, Yumingjie slowly unbuttoned her shirt, saying as she did so, I hate him too. I wish I could get rid of that old pervert right away. I'll let you sleep with me once. Can you help me? Seeing this, even though Yi Daijin had predicted her prediction, he couldn't help but say in his heart that it was so cruel. He uses his wife to make trouble and then scolds himself. Absolutely amazing. Fortunately, I turned on the recording on my phone in advance, otherwise it would be hard to explain. After realizing this, Yi Daijin turned his head and rebuked, please respect yourself and button up quickly. You are Xiewan's stepmother. I won't do anything to let Xiewan down. If you do this again, I will call the police. Hearing this, Yumingjie's hands instinctively trembled, and her eyes gradually turned red. If calling the police would work, I wouldn't have resorted to such a desperate measure and lured you to my house. To tell you the truth, he and the director of the law enforcement station, Xiao Dongming, are in cahoots with each other. Yi Daijin frowned. If taking the initiative doesn't work, you're going to resort to threats, right? Come on, let's rip the grass and catch the rabbits, and we'll just kill all of you borers. Although he already had enough evidence to be invincible, the protagonist of this play had not yet appeared. If he left like this, wouldn't all Li Changhai's huge investment be wasted? I don't understand what you mean. Yi Daijin said. You'll know everything if you turn around and take a look. As she spoke, Yumingjie's shirt suddenly slipped off. Anyway, the show has come to this point. Yi Daijin has no intention of leaving immediately, and since the other party has invited him, he might as well watch it. Thinking of this, he slowly turned his head, but for a moment, he was stunned. The fair back was covered with whip marks and burn scars, and some places were even covered with purple blood, which showed that he had been beaten not long ago. Just for words, bruises all over the body. Did you see that? This was all caused by that bastard Li Changhai. Yumingjie's voice choked with sobs, he is just a pervert. While beating me, I felt comfortable. I know you don't believe it, wait a minute. As she spoke, she turned around and walked towards the cabinet as if no one was around. Only then did Yi Daijin notice that the other person's face was covered with tears. It was at this time that she took out a small box from the cupboard. After opening it, the bed was covered with dazzling things. A small black whip, a collar and chain studded with nails, candles, and a fox tail. There were so many things, some of which he had never seen before. Yi Daijin couldn't help but swallow his saliva. This old guy is really good at playing, isn't he? Da Zhen, can I trust you? Yumingjie said softly. Looking at that pitiful appearance, Yi Daijin really didn't know what to do, and quickly turned his head away. Who do you blame for this? Since he tortured you, divorce him. Divorce? Yumingjie laughed bitterly. How can it be easy? That old bastard only has his daughter in his heart. I married him when I was 20 years old. It's been 10 years, but he has always been on guard against me. We haven't even received the marriage certificate yet. That's easier. Just run. He's not tying you up. Yi Daejin was completely speechless. Do you think I've never run before? The first time I ran, my dad's leg was broken by someone, and he still has to use crutches. The second time, someone set my house on fire. Yi Daejin was silent. Don't tell me, that old bastard could do it. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Yu Mingjie gritted her teeth and started to tell him the truth. You probably don't know yet, but your godmother was forced to death by Li Chanhai. He used your brother's grave to force your sister-in-law to give him a son. The old lady was such a nice person, but she was pissed off to death by him. Her words were like a handful of salt sprinkled directly on Yi Daejin's wounds. A pair of eyes turned ferocious on the spot. She did feel wronged, but she and that beast Li Chanhai were a couple. Doesn't she have any responsibility at all? Why not persuade? Why don't you call the police? How can you just watch it? Don't you feel guilty? Oh, now the person is gone and needs my help. But what's the point of saying this, other than making Yi Daejin hate me more? Seeing Yi Daejin looking at her with an unfriendly expression, Yu Mingjie's heart skipped a beat. Oops, it seems I put too much material in it. She stepped back instinctively and said in panic, Daejin, you listen to me. What? You still have the nerve to say it? You tricked me here and took off my clothes, didn't you just want to seduce me? Come, I will satisfy you today. Yi Daejin snorted coldly, pounced forward, grabbed the other person's arm, and pressed him directly on the bed. Daejin, listen to me, Yu Mingjie screamed and was completely panicked. She was planning to join forces with Yi Daejin to help her escape from her suffering, and by the way, retaliate against Li Chanhai. Even at the cost of sacrificing oneself. But the actual situation was completely different from expectations. Yi Daejin rushed forward, as if he wanted to vent all his hatred for Li Chanhai on himself. Isn't this the end? It didn't matter that he got beaten for nothing, the most important thing was that Yi Daejin hated him. Yu Meng's body trembled and she raised her neck. It hurts, Daejin, be gentle, Chapter 7, Junjun is really using his wife to make trouble. Half an hour later. No one knows what Yu Mingjie went through. She originally thought that Yi Daejin hated Li Chanhai, and as long as she showed goodwill, he would definitely choose to join forces with her. As a result, Yi Daejin treated Li Chanhai as a family member. Okay, then I will change my strategy. As long as he helps me get rid of Li Chanhai, I can give him some benefits at most. It won't matter. As a result, the guy was wary. Then let us reveal the explosive news. As a result, being too clever backfired. There was too much explosive news, and a good thing turned into a bad thing. Are people's hearts so unpredictable nowadays? There was happiness, but more of it was a life and death pain, as if it was torn apart, and Yi Daejin's waist was almost broken. Begging for mercy, Daejin, I really can't do it anymore. It's too late to say this now. Yi Daejin's eyes were red, like an angry bull. What a joke, bullshit. This kind of person should be like Hanxiang. Your godmother's death has nothing to do with me. I tried to persuade her at the time, but Li Chanhai was obsessed with having a son. Not only did he not listen, he beat her even harder. Look, the scar on my chest was caused by the burn at that time. Fearing that he would not believe it, Yu Mingjie quickly pointed at Shuezi who was trembling violently. Sure enough, the burns were densely packed together, even more densely packed than those on the back, and were frightening to look at. Yi Daejin was completely dumbfounded. I targeted the wrong person and took revenge on the wrong person. If what she said was true, then what was the difference between what I had just done and what that beast Li Chanhai did? No, you lied to me. I swear, if I lie to you, I will die. Yu Mingjie cried and raised her hand to swear. It didn't sound like she was lying at all. Yi Daejin just felt his head buzzing. I really want to slap myself in the face. What the hell, what did I do? The victim bullies the victim. Am I still a human being? Yu Mingjie took advantage of his daze and quickly pulled away to hide in the corner, staring at him, trembling. Daejin, I really don't need to lie to you. Yi Daejin took a deep breath and sat down on the bed, his face facing away from her full of shame. How do you want me to help you? Hearing this, Yu Mingjie was stunned at first, then she could not hide her excitement and said in a trembling voice, Kill him, aren't you a doctor? You prepare the medicine and I will give it to you. We will do it together and ensure that no one will find out. Don't worry, even if someone finds out, I won't betray you. Yi Daejin frowned slightly. This is indeed a good way to solve the problem once and for all, but it is too easy for him. Besides, if he wanted to kill Li Changhai, he didn't need anyone else's help. He could kill him in minutes. Moreover, Li Changhai died inexplicably at home. According to common sense, Li Xiaowan would definitely call the police for an autopsy, and the first person to suffer would be Yu Mingjiao. No, give up this idea immediately. You will be the first one to get into trouble if you do this. Do you really think the police are vegetarians? Yi Dejin immediately waved his hand. Yu Mingjiao gritted her teeth and said, I don't care. His life is a nightmare to me. Just give me the medicine and I'll do the rest. Yi Dejin turned around and said angrily, Are you crazy, woman? Is it worth sacrificing yourself for a person like that? That shout stunned Yu Mingjiao. His face was still as hideous and scary as before. But for some reason, Yu Mingjiao was suddenly not afraid anymore. Are you concerned about me? If you don't want to die, listen to me and don't do anything. Yi Dejin snorted coldly and quickly turned his head back. This woman, when she looks so pitiful, is simply a disaster. My sensitive nerves were tense again. This matter requires long-term consideration. Don't worry, I will not let Li Changhai go. It won't be long before I can give you your freedom. Yi Dejin didn't know how to make it up to the other party. Perhaps the only thing he could do was to bring Li Changhai to justice as soon as possible. After hearing her words, Yu Mingjiao became more certain that Yi Dejin was just concerned about her safety. She felt warm in her heart and no longer felt wronged at all. That. Yi Dejin opened his mouth to ask her if she had any evidence of Li Changhai's crime, but then he changed his mind and thought that if Yu Mingjiao really had something on Li Changhai, she would not be bullied by him like this. Forget it, it's better to rely on oneself than on others. He still doesn't believe that Li Changhai has been the village chief for so many years and there is no flaw at all. However, seeing that he was hesitant to speak, Yu Mingjiao thought that he wanted to finish what he had not done. My body must not be able to take it anymore. But since they are helping me so much, why not take the initiative? Thinking of this, she bravely knelt down in front of Yi Dejin. Aunt, what do you want to do? Yi Dejin was startled. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Yu Mingjiao raised her head and said, privately, you can call me Sister Yu or Mingjiao. Just don't call me Auntie, okay? Hiss, okay? Yi Dejin took a deep breath. Although he knew that this was not good, he couldn't avoid it at this critical moment. He made the mistake that all men would make and instinctively touched the back of Yu Mingjiao's head. However, the happiness did not last for more than a few seconds. The gate creaked open, and then a motorcycle roared into the yard. Yu Mingjiao's face changed, and she immediately stood up, hurriedly picked up her clothes and put them on. While fixing her hair, she urged, hide first, the old bastard is back. Where to hide? Yi Dejin was also a little confused. Since it is not a trap, he definitely cannot harm Yu Mingjiao. Of course, if it is, it doesn't matter. It just means that the other party acted very well. Go to the closet. Yu Mingjiao urged. Because at this time, footsteps were heard downstairs. You damn woman, why are you running upstairs in broad daylight? As soon as Yi Dejin hid himself, Li Changhai walked into their house. Looking at the things on the bed, his brows immediately frowned. Has anyone been here? What are you talking about? Who's coming? So what were you doing? What's with the wire? And why is your face so red? As the old saying goes, the cat that steals fish knows the smell best. Everything in the room immediately made Li Changhai realize something was going on. Yi Dejin hid in the closet, staring at the other person through the crack. He had made up his mind that if Li Changhai found him, he would send him straight to hell. Anyway, no one else can get hurt because of Li Changhai. At this moment, Yu Mingjiao hugged the other's arm in a peculiar manner. I was washing clothes at home, and the sore was blocked. I was looking for a tool, but I couldn't find anything that worked. Later I found a piece of wire and was able to get the thing stuck out. Really? Li Changhai narrowed his eyes and stared at Yu Mingjiao. Yu Mingjiao hugged the other's waist in anger, pouting aggrievedly, it's fake, isn't it okay? I cheated with these things on the bed. As he said this, he directly covered Li Changhai's mouth with his mouth. Li Changhai was quite surprised that he was going to have a feast today. He actually kissed me on the mouth. Although the taste felt a bit off, I couldn't care less. After pushing the person onto the bed, he took out a box of medicine from his pocket with a wicked smile. I just sent Xie to town to take a bus, and I bought this from the pharmacy. She's not at home today, so let's have some fun. As he said that, he took out a piece and stuffed it into his mouth, then picked up the small whip on the bed. Pia. Hey, call. Yumin Jiao cooperated very well, with her painful face facing the wardrobe. The live performance was so touching that Yi Daijin almost rushed out. Don't fight today, come quickly, I can't wait any longer. Good. Li Changhai accepted her invitation. Having just been tormented by Yi Daijin, she was even prepared for the pain that was about to follow, but the strange thing was that she didn't feel anything at all. Li Changhai also realized that something was wrong. How big are his feet and what size shoes should he wear? Which one did you use just now? That. Yumin Jia's heart skipped a beat and she quickly pointed to the largest one she had just bought. Li Changhai's eyes widened, all in. Fuck, you tiger woman, no wonder, that thing can fit in. Li Changhai felt his head buzzing and his blood pressure rose by 2 levels. It was completely defeated before it even turned into a cricket puper. Forget it, let's stop here for today. Li Changhai sighed as he stuffed his things into the box. You are not allowed to play by yourself when I'm not around. New. Yumin Jia nodded repeatedly, just leave it there, I'll clean it up, and you can go to town and find someone to repair the washing machine, there are still a lot of clothes that haven't been washed, apk. No hurry. Li Changhai smiled faintly, and then directly grabbed Yumin Jia's hand. Wife, I have treated you well over the years, right? Yumin Jia's heart skipped a beat and she said nervously, no, not thin. Don't be nervous. Let's discuss something. If you help me this time, I swear I will never hit you again and I will get a marriage certificate with you. What's up? It's nothing, actually. It's just that damn girl Xie is too stupid and stubborn. She is determined to marry Yi Daijin. But what kind of conditions does that boy have? How can he be worthy of my daughter? As a mother, you definitely don't want to see her fall into the fire, so you have to sacrifice yourself. By the end of his speech, Li Changhai's face was full of fake smiles. Chapter 8, Taking Advantage of the Situation. Yumin Jiao couldn't believe her ears. Your daughter is stupid, you sacrifice me. But seeing that unquestionable look, and the residual power of many years, Yumin Jiao lowered her head in fear. You tell me, I'll do anything. You are indeed my good wife. Li Changhai picked up the medicine box with a smile and poured out 2 more paper-wrapped medicines. I know what you're worried about. Don't worry. With me here, that guy won't be able to take advantage of you. I will discuss his marriage with Xie in the evening and invite Yi Daijin to my house for dinner. Then you can give the medicine wrapped in straw paper to Yi Daijin and the one wrapped in white paper to Xie. What are these used for? Yumin Jiao asked suspiciously. The white paper is the sleeping pill. Xie is definitely doing something bad. As for the thing in the straw paper, it is the strong golden weapon. I will take the opportunity to help Xie back to her room and leave. You tease that boy a little. If he makes a move, just smash the cup as a signal. Yumin Jiao was stunned when she heard this, and then someone will rush in to save you, and they will find out that Yi Daijin was molesting his future mother-in-law while drunk. Xie will definitely not recognize this marriage after she finds out. From now on, you will be the hero of my family. Li Changhai said excitedly. Of course, there were some things he didn't tell the other party, that is, after that, Yi Daijin's reputation would be ruined, and he would be kicked out of Xiaoliu village in disgrace, and then he could rest assured. As for Yumin Jiao, her reputation was also ruined. If she was sensible, she would stay and serve him obediently, and when he found someone to give birth to a son, she could help take care of his son. It's tactless. Just ask someone to replace it with one that can lay eggs, and no one can say anything. In short, he wanted to squeeze out every last bit of value from Yumin Jiao. Yumin Jiao felt a chill all over her body. This feeling was even more terrifying than directly humiliating her body. However, when I thought that Yi Daijin was hiding in the cabinet and should have heard everything, my trembling heart calmed down a little. Who else can help? I'm afraid, what if the people you called don't show up? Don't worry, Zhang Laowu has been following me since he was young. If I ask him to chase rabbits, he will never dare to chase chickens. Okay, I promise you, I will complete the task assigned by my husband. You should go find someone to repair the washing machine and buy some food. We will definitely have a feast to entertain my son-in-law. Har 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 har, my wife is really thoughtful. Li Changhai was overjoyed. He slapped his thigh, pulled up his trousers and walked outside. Yu Mingjie ran to the balcony and watched the other person leave on a motorcycle before opening the cabinet door. You heard everything. At this moment, Yi Dajian's face was dark, and he nodded. This old Bai Deng is really insidious. So what do we do? Take advantage of their own accord. Yi Dajian narrowed his eyes. I was worried that I had no chance to ruin his reputation. He brought this upon himself. You're just. Hearing this, Yu Mingjie's eyes lit up instantly. Okay, I'll listen to you, but is this really okay? Don't worry, if I say it's okay, it will definitely work. Li Changhai rode his motorcycle past Yi Dajian's house and saw that the door was open. He had already passed by, so he simply rode back and prepared to inform him about dinner. As soon as he entered the yard, he cleared his throat and shouted, "Da Zhen." Hearing the noise, Song Hanxiang came out with a bad look on her face. What are you doing here? Where's Dajian? I have something to talk to Dajian about. Li Changhai smiled, and when there was no one around, he didn't hesitate at all, and his pair of thieving eyes would always turn to others. Song Hanxiang was so angry that she was confused. This couple is really cool. Not long after his wife called someone away, he also came to look for someone. So he really treats Yi Dajian as his son-in-law who can be ordered around. Thinking about what Li Changhai had done, Song Hanxiang couldn't possibly give him a good face. I don't know, he's not home, get out now, you're not welcome in my house. It's good not to be at home. When he heard that Yi Dajian was not at home, Li Changhai couldn't help rubbing his hands. What do you want to do? Song Hanxiang was startled and quickly stepped back. Look at you, what can I do in broad daylight? Li Changhai sighed, Xiangxiang, my life has been like walking on thin ice. I have been a village chief for my whole life. I dare not say how good the conditions are, but I can definitely say that I am the best in the village. We have the small Western-style house and we have 500,000 yuan in savings. The only thing we lack is an heir. As long as you give me a son, I will leave all this money to you and my son. As he spoke, Li Changhai was about to step forward. Marry a man, and you will have clothes to wear and food to eat. I have played all my cards and exposed my family conditions. They are so well off, so why should I worry that she won't be deeply impressed by me? Unexpectedly, Song Hanxiang turned around and picked up the shovel standing by the wall. Stand there, do you know why you can't give birth to a son? Why? You are so immoral. Song Hanxiang glared at the other person viciously. I curse that you will never give birth to a son in your life. Get out of here. Her words undoubtedly hit Li Changhai's lungs. With his eyes wide open and his sleeves rolled up, he cursed, Song Hanxiang, you are so shameless, aren't you? Get out. If you dare to come forward again, I will tackle you. Song Hanxiang's hands were shaking. Although she was angry, she was more nervous. Li Changhai knew her very well and saw at a glance that she was strong on the outside but weak on the inside. He walked forward with a sneer, go ahead and shovel it if you can. You? Song Hanxiang was almost crying with anger. I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen someone so shameless and difficult to deal with. But there is no way, Li Changhai is just that kind of person. Having been the village chief for decades, he has absolute power over the entire Xiaoliu village. To put it bluntly, here, even if you earn $100 in your dreams, you have to give him 50. As a widow, she could only stay away from such a person and not dare to provoke him. Don't forget, your family still owes Lao Daozi more than 20,000 yuan. Who is Lao Daozi? Without my pressure, would he let your family pay in installments? I'm telling you, don't be so ungrateful. I'm giving you a chance now. Either give me a son, or I'll let Lao Daozi sell you to a secret gang. Do you believe it? As soon as these words were spoken, Song Hanxiang's face changed color on the spot. Just when she was at a loss, Yi Dajian's voice came through the door, Li Changhai, you are a beast. Hearing this, Li Changhai's heart skipped a beat and he quickly hid aside, laughing dryly, har har. Dajian, you're back. Li Changhai, can you please be a human being again? Kid, how can you talk to your uncle like that? Li Changhai was very angry, but when he thought that after tonight, Yi Dajian would be disgraced and would roll out of Xiaoliu village in disgrace, he immediately suppressed his anger. Hey, kid, how can you talk to your uncle like that? I came to you because I want to tell you to come to my house for dinner tonight so we can talk about your marriage with Xie Wan. Really? Yi Dajian sneered in his heart, but the anger on his face had disappeared. Lao Deng, your good days are about to end. Of course it's true. I was just about to go buy groceries and I passed by your house to let you know. Well, I'm leaving first. Remember to come in the evening. After saying that, Li Changhai walked away dejectedly. Sister-in-law, do you owe Lao Daozi money? How did you owe it? Chapter 9, Good Things Come in Pairs. A few years ago, your brother and I contracted an orchard. We didn't have enough money at the time, so we were embarrassed to ask you for help. So I asked Li Changhai to help me borrow 50,000 from Lao Daozi. We pay it back a little bit every year, and it's almost paid off. You don't have to worry about it. Song Hanxiang smiled, obviously not wanting Yi Dajin to worry about this kind of thing, and immediately changed the subject. By the way, why did you take so long? I heard the motorcycle passing by, and he didn't see you when he got home. I left his house a long time ago and just took a walk around the village. Yi Dajin scratched his head awkwardly. Song Hanxiang suddenly realized, okay, after all, you just woke up. Well, you haven't eaten enough, right? I'll heat up the food for you. Oh, forget it, you should save your stomach and go to his house to eat delicious food tonight. No, the food in his house is not that delicious. The food cooked by my sister-in-law is still delicious and has the taste of home. Yi Dajin felt warm in his heart and reached out to hold the other person's hand. As soon as she touched him, Song Hanxiang dodged with a red face. Well, you eat first, I'm going back to the room. After saying that, he lowered his head and walked quickly towards the small door. After watching the other party close the door, Yi Dajin walked into their house with a helpless look on his face. Anyway, time passes slowly, and he doesn't believe that he can't warm the other person up. Little did she know that Song Hanxiang was leaning against the door, her face full of loneliness. Just now she was thinking that it would be nice to live with Yi Dajin. But when Li Changhai came and invited her to her home in the evening to discuss marriage, she realized how ridiculous her idea was. How could he marry me when he doesn't even want to marry a virgin girl? Forget it, as long as you two can live a good life, it doesn't matter whether you take revenge or not. After all, we have to move on. Song Hanxiang took a deep breath, then let out a long sigh and walked back to her room. The other side. Yi Dajin returned to their house, took out his mobile phone, downloaded a network disk software and uploaded the recording. Then he called the bank to check his bank card balance. Lao Daozi is a big loan shark in town. Even though he has never been in trouble before, a cornered dog will do anything. If Li Changhai brings this up today, Lao Daozi will definitely make trouble. What he never expected was that all the more than 200,000 yuan in his bank card was withdrawn without a penny left. But think about it, that couple planned so carefully, how could they let go of the money in his card? It seems I have to go to the county tomorrow. The clinic is closed anyway, so I should sell the shop in the city first. Yi Dajin pondered while eating. After eating and drinking, he wrote a note and put it on the table, then walked towards the back mountain with a hatchet. Xiaoliu village is located deep in the Hengduan Mountains, where it is spring-like all year round and there are many kinds of medicinal herbs on the mountain. Li Changhai wanted to drug him, so of course he couldn't just sit there doing nothing. The purpose of this trip is to find a medicinal herb called guano, which is also known as magic root. It is colorless and odorless after being fried and dried, but it has a strong hallucinogenic effect and can reduce brain function. Combined with forget-me-not and golden spear, after taking a dose of this medicine, Li Changhai is guaranteed to ascend to heaven and forget everything else. When he arrived at the foot of the mountain, Yi Dajin immediately activated the yin-yang qi viewing technique and looked everywhere on the mountain. Suddenly, his eyes fixed on one place. With the yin-yang eyes activated, the mountain in front of him looked like thermal imaging. The shape of the mountains and the flow of energy could not escape his eyes at all. He originally wanted to try the art of qi gazing, but unexpectedly he actually got an unexpected surprise. There are flashes of brilliant light where the energy channels converge. The stronger the light, the greater the energy contained. Although this light is very weak, it is better than nothing. It seems this trip was not in vain. Yi Dajin was so excited that he picked up a hatchet and walked towards the direction where the light appeared. However, the further he went, the heavier Yi Dajin's heart became. Soon he came to the edge of a cliff. Looking at the small mound of earth piled up for burning incense next to it, Yi Dajin's face was full of bitterness, because this was the place where his brother fell off the cliff. He opened his yin-yang eyes again and looked down. Soon he found a Ganoderma lucidum clinging to a rock on a very hidden cliff. It blends in with the cliff and would go unnoticed unless you look carefully. Perhaps the reason why my brother fell off the cliff was because he discovered this thing. But there is no point in thinking so much now. The important thing is to pick the things up. Even though he didn't bring a rope, for Yi Daijin now, climbing over eaves and walls is no problem at all. Climbing down the cliff bit by bit, he soon caught the boulder hanging Ganoderma lucidum in his hand. However, at this moment, something strange happened and a buzzing sound suddenly came from my ears. A swarm of black bees came towards us like a dark cloud covering the sun, and it was too late to hide. Yi Daijin's heart skipped a beat. The old saying is true, wherever there are magical fruits and herbs, there must be exotic beasts guarding them. This stone embracing Ganoderma lucidum is at most 50 years old, but it can be considered a magical medicine level, so it is normal to have a group of black bees guarding it. But what he didn't expect was that the black bees that were flying towards him immediately changed direction and dispersed when they got less than 2 meters away from him, surrounding him without attacking. Yi Daijin suddenly realized that he was no longer a mortal. Bloodline suppression, who is afraid of Jeeber. With a thought in mind, he climbed the stone wall and walked forward. Sure enough, the group of black bees retreated immediately. The short distance of 2 meters seemed like a natural chasm. Every time Yi Daijin took a step forward, they took a step back. Thinking that this group of bees might be the culprit that caused his brother to fall off the cliff, Yi Daijin was no longer in a hurry to go up. He soon found the black bee's nest, which was a fault embedded in the cliff. It is only half a meter high, but dozens of meters long. As far as the eye can see, it is filled with beehives dripping with honey. Fortunately, he doesn't have trypophobia, otherwise he would have fallen off this 100-foot cliff. Apk. After seeing this scene, Yi Daijin was no longer in a hurry to avenge his elder brother. Wild honey from cliff bees is a good thing that is comparable to gold. As long as it is properly controlled, it is definitely an inexhaustible gold mine. Rather than killing them all at once to avenge Big Brother, it is better to let them live and atone for Big Brother's sins. Thinking of this, Yi Daijin quickly freed up one hand and quickly took down a beehive, then quickly climbed back up the cliff. Looking at the beehive in his hand, which contained at least 4 or 5 kilograms of seeds, Yi Daijin's mood suddenly improved a lot. Brother, it must be your spirit in heaven blessing you. Don't worry, I will definitely take good care of my sister-in-law in the future. I will pay back what you owe her. Yi Daijin kowtowed 3 times towards the cliff, then picked up his things and walked down the mountain. When he reached the foot of the mountain, he had already collected the herbs he needed. Now all she had to do was wait for him to prepare the medicine and give it to Yu Mingjiao, and then wait for the show to begin in the evening. Thinking that tonight, not only would Li Changhai be ruined, but he would also be able to save a suffering person, his steps became a lot lighter. Chapter 10 Existence is reasonable. At home. Looking at the beehive that Yi Daijin brought back, Song Hanxiang was not only not happy, but her face turned pale with fear. You went to the place where your elder brother fell off the cliff. Yi Daijin nodded. Let's go and take a look. Do you know how dangerous that is? Have you forgotten how your eldest brother died? I know, but it's okay, don't worry. Don't worry. How can I be relieved? What if you fall again? I won't be able to survive. As she spoke, Song Hanxiang's tears were already falling. Yi Daijin raised his hand with concern and wanted to help her wipe it. But Song Hanxiang was so angry that she turned her head away. Seeing this, he knew that any further explanation would be unnecessary. He simply walked forward and held the person in his arms like a princess. Song Hanxiang was horrified and struggled in panic. What do you want to do? Put me down quickly. I'll take you flying once. Yi Daijin grinned, picked up the person and walked out of the house. It was the first time that Song Hanxiang was held like this by a man. She felt like she was holding a rabbit in her arms, and her heart was beating bang bang non-stop. Especially when I heard the words, take you flying once, I felt like my heart was about to jump into my throat. Soon the two arrived at the yard. Song Hanxiang's face was already red enough to bleed. Should we go inside? How can you fly into the house? Yi Daijin looked stunned. Song Hanxiang was so embarrassed that she wished she could find a hole to crawl into. She instinctively thought that Yi Daijin wanted to do that kind of thing with her in the yard. Let's go inside. I'm afraid someone might be eavesdropping. Even though Yi Daijin's reflex arc was long, He came to his senses after hearing this and said with a smile, "What are you thinking about? When I said I would take you flying, I really meant it. Open your eyes and look carefully." R. Song Hanxiang was slightly stunned. Before she could figure out what was going on, she felt her body suddenly lifted into the air. She was so scared that she instinctively hugged Yi Daejin's neck. Yi Daejin secretly laughed and landed lightly on the courtyard wall. "Okay, let's see if we are flying." Song Hanxiang took a look and found that she was indeed standing on the courtyard wall. She was shocked and asked, "How did you do it?" "Watch carefully." As he said that, Yi Daejin tiptoed and jumped onto the roof of the side room like a dragonfly skimming the water. The distance of more than 10 meters was reached in a flash. People who have not experienced it cannot understand what kind of shock it is. Yi Daejin was also afraid of being seen, so he held the person in his arms and floated back to the yard. Song Hanxiang was completely dumbfounded, staring at Yi Daejin as if he were a monster. "How did you do that?" Yi Daejin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Haven't you ever watched TV?" Song Hanxiang blinked rapidly. "Aren't all the things on TV fake? Existence is reasonable. Although I can't really fly now, it's not dangerous to collect honey under the cliff. Are you relieved this time?" Song Hanxiang swallowed instinctively, but still felt she couldn't understand what was going on. She only received 9 years of compulsory education, and she couldn't understand why people could perform qigong. Does physics really no longer exist? Okay, stop thinking about it. Yi Daejin smiled and felt that his sister-in-law was silly and cute at this moment. It would be better to teach her the art of cultivating immortals while the iron is still strong. Although it may not bring her great achievements, it will definitely help her live longer and stay young forever. Thinking of this, he continued, "Sister-in-law, do you want to be like me?" Oh. I don't want to. After coming to her senses, Song Hanxiang shook her head like a rattle. "I want to be alone." After saying that, she turned around and went back to her yard. "Qigong, oh my god, it's like a ghost." Yi Daejin. Looking at his sister-in-law fleeing in panic, Yi Daejin did not expect the other party to react so strongly. "He doesn't think I'm a monster, does he?" Thinking of this, he felt so regretful. Just as he was wondering whether he should go to his sister-in-law to explain, there was a slight knock on the door. When I opened it, who else could it be but Li Xiaowan? "Why are you here?" Although the two were childhood sweethearts, Yi Daejin's face looked obviously a little unnatural when they met again. "What? You're not welcome. Then I'm leaving." Li Xiaowan rolled her eyes in annoyance. "That's not the case. Come in first." Yi Daejin smiled awkwardly, then welcomed the person into the yard and closed the door. After entering their house, Li Xiaowan sat on the kang openly. "My dad asked you to come to his house for dinner tonight to discuss our marriage." Yi Daejin took an apple from the counter and handed it to her, then sat next to her. "Xiao Wan, do you think your father really agrees with us being together?" Li Xiaowan took a bite of the apple and said with a smug smile, "That's right, I said in front of so many people today that we both slept together, and he couldn't disagree even if he wanted to. After I got home, I acted like a spoiled brat, ignored him, and went shopping. But what happened? He still called me and told me to come back quickly." Seeing her being so carefree, Yi Daejin didn't know whether to cry or laugh. With such a good personality and such a beautiful look, why must she be Li Changhai's girl? He doesn't deserve such a daughter at all. Yi Daejin really wanted to tell her the truth, but when the words came to his lips, it felt like there was a thorn stuck in his throat and he couldn't utter a word. As if she had noticed something strange about Yi Daejin, Li Xiaowan's smile froze and she slowly put down the apple. Why don't you say anything? Don't you want to?" "It's not that I don't want to." Hearing this, the smile on Li Xiaowan's face returned to normal again. Without waiting for Yi Daejin to finish, she took another bite of the apple and said, "It's okay as long as you are willing. It's worth it that I have waited for you for so many years. It doesn't matter if you're worried about not being able to afford the bride price. I'm determined to marry you anyway, and he definitely can't persuade me. He has a secret stash of money, and after we get married, I will find a way to get it from him." Yi Daejin is like a fishbone stuck in the throat. At this moment, he wished he could slap himself hard in the face. Luo Huor had feelings for him, but he let her down. As the old saying goes, a friend in need is a friend indeed. I was so stupid before. I missed such a kind-hearted girl for a vicious woman. Perhaps if he had married Li Xiaowan back then, the tragedy that followed would not have happened. But unfortunately, time cannot be reversed. There is no medicine for regret in the world, and once missed, it is missed. The cinnabar mole of the past can only become the white moonlight in your heart in the end. Because of her dad, they will never be together in this life. Li Changhai forced his godmother to death, and he will never forgive her. Even if I send Li Changhai to jail myself, Li Xiaowan will never forgive me. Seeing that he was hesitant to speak and his eyes gradually turned red, Li Xiaowan put down the apple, curled her lips and said, "Oh, how can a grown man be moved?" As he spoke, he leaned his head forward and said, "Do you think I'm so good?" Yi Daijin smiled bitterly and was about to say yes. At this moment, the girl's red lips, which smelled like apples, directly blocked his mouth. Yi Daijin's eyes widened in disbelief. But at this time, Li Xiaowan hugged his neck tightly. Chapter 11. The show begins. After a long while, the two of them let go, breathless. Li Xiaowan's face was so red that blood might drip out. "You have to come tonight anyway. I'm leaving first." After saying that, without waiting for Yi Daijin to speak, she ran out in a panic. Yi Daijin savored the lingering apple fragrance in his mouth, but his face was full of distress. What a good girl! How great would it be if she wasn't Li Changhai's daughter? Forget it. After tonight, she will probably give up. He sighed, then walked to the yard, fetched firewood and started to fry the medicine. Soon he had prepared a small bag of medicine powder. He took out his cell phone and called Yu Mingjiao, then sneaked to the backyard wall of Li Changhai's house with his things. "Da Zhen, I believe you." Yu Mingjiao raised her head, her eyes gradually turned red. She had waited for this day for 10 years. Now that he was finally going to escape from Li Changhai's clutches, all the grievances he had suffered over the years came flooding back to his mind. It's best not to cry. Li Changhai is very cunning. If he finds out something, all our efforts will be wasted. Yi Daijin sat on the courtyard wall and pretended to be relaxed and said, "Have you thought about it? Where are you going to go after you leave? We'll talk about it later." "That's right, let's deal with this old bastard first." "Well, when the time comes, you must remember not to touch the food in front of you. There is medicine in it." Yi Daijin smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'm not afraid even if there are medicines." Big root. Yu Mingjiao's cheeks flushed. She wanted to ask him what he wanted in return, but he had already jumped off the wall and left. Night fell quickly. After informing Song Hanxiang, he left the house. When he passed by the grocery store, he bought a box of milk and a bag of wedding candy. Then he walked towards Li Changhai's house in a grand manner. Since this play is to be performed, it naturally has to have a legitimate origin. The grocery store was the gathering place for those FBLS in the village. As soon as he entered the gate of old Li's house, the news that he went to Li Changhai's house to discuss marriage spread throughout the village. "Da Zhen is here. Look at you, you just come, why do you need to bring anything?" Li Changhai was very enthusiastic. Thinking that he could rest easy after tonight, his mouth was grinning so hard that it almost reached his back teeth. If you don't know, you would think that he likes this son-in-law very much. "Da Zhen, hurry up and find a place to sit. The meal is ready. Your uncle is waiting for you." Yu Mingjiao walked forward with a smile, took the things in his hand, and took the opportunity to exchange glances. "You two can chat first, I'll go upstairs and call Xiaowan down." "Good." Yi Daijin smiled, then sat down with Li Changhai. Only then did he notice that Li Changhai had really invested a lot of money today. 2 boxes of Yunnan cigarettes and 2 bottles of Wuliangyi. Obviously, he also wanted to have more to say in front of his fellow villagers next time. "Oh, I spent a lot of money to entertain you, the new son-in-law, but you, after drinking a little wine, started to touch your future mother-in-law. By then, perhaps he won't need to show up, as the villagers can break his spine with just a finger. Come on, let's pour some wine and drink it first," Li Changhai said as he opened a bottle of wine. "How can I let you fall? Let me do it. You are the elder." Yi Daijin hurried to take the other party's wine. "Dad, let Daijin fall." Hearing the noise, Yi Daijin looked up at the stairs and saw Li Xiaowan, wearing a blue plaid JK skirt and a white short-sleeved shirt, walking down slowly. She had obviously dressed up specially, with a fair face and rosy cheeks, looking both pure and sexy. Yi Daijin was stunned on the spot. Seeing him staring at her in a daze, Li Xiaowan immediately rolled her eyes at him in anger. Why are you looking at me? Hurry up and pour some wine for my dad. If you don't accompany him well, our marriage will be over. As he spoke, he even put his arm around Yi Daijin in front of Li Changhai. This scene was like rubbing salt into Li Changhai's heart. Ahem, Daijin, hurry up and pour some wine for your father-in-law. Yu Mingjiao cleared her throat and said impatiently, okay, everyone is here, sit down quickly, or the food will get cold if you don't eat now. Li Changhai came back to his senses and thought that Yu Mingjiao was reminding him. He nodded at her with satisfaction, then sat back in his chair with the demeanor of a father-in-law. Yi Daijin smiled, then poured him a glass of wine and filled it up for himself. At this time, Li Xiaowan also poured beer for herself and Yu Mingjiao. Now that everyone is here, let's raise our glasses to celebrate Daijin's awakening. Li Changhai smiled, picked up the glass and drank the first glass. Anyway, Yi Daijin was not in a hurry. The night was long and there was plenty of time for him to act. He raised his glass and clinked glasses with everyone. Li Changhai took a sip and picked up the chopsticks with a smile. Come on, everyone, use your chopsticks. Daijin, try your aunt's cooking. I know you like stir-fried meat with chili peppers, so I put more meat in it. Yi Daijin glanced at the stir-fried pork with spicy peppers in front of him and said with a smile, thank you, auntie, but I just woke up and can't eat spicy food yet. As he said that, he took a bite of the mushroom next to him. Seeing that he didn't eat, Li Changhai's eyelids twitched, and he picked up a piece of the food in front of him and put it into his mouth. Then, he brought the second bottle of wine, and the third one. After finishing the first 3 cups, Yi Daijin even toasted him a glass, but he just didn't move his chopsticks to eat the stir-fried pork with hot peppers. Especially when he saw the look on his daughter's face that couldn't tolerate anyone else, Li Changhai felt even more uncomfortable. Also, for some reason, I usually drink a pound of liquor, but today I felt a little dizzy after just 1 glass. If this goes on, Yi Daijin will probably fall on the table before he falls into the trap. This won't do. The process must be accelerated. He put down his chopsticks, cleared his throat and said, Da Jenner, Xiao Wan is my only daughter. Don't blame me for asking you for 1,000,000 yuan as a dowry. How about this? You drink a glass of wine, 100,000 yuan. If you drink 10 glasses in a row and let me see your sincerity, I will marry my daughter to you without asking for a dowry. How about that? Really? Yi Daijin sneered in his heart. This old bai's glare was really interesting. But considering the time, the medicine will soon take effect. Da Zhen. Don't show off. Li Xiaowan's head was also dizzy. After she finished speaking, she looked at Li Changhai angrily. Dad, why did you force him to drink? Silly girl, am I trying to get him drunk? I'm testing his feelings for you. Li Changhai suddenly became serious. Da Zhen, if you can't even drink 10 glasses of wine, how can you have the nerve to marry my daughter? Who said I don't dare? It's just 10 glasses of wine, isn't it? As he spoke, Yi Daijin picked up the wine glass, filled it up, and then drank it all in 1 gulp. Then another cup followed. Seeing that he had already finished the 3rd glass, Yu Mingjiao was completely dumbfounded. She quickly stood up and grabbed the bottle. How can you drink like this? He is the main force. If he really drinks too much, won't the whole plan be wasted? Li Xiaowan also stood up at this time and wanted to persuade him, but Li Changhai had already started laughing. Yes, eat some food first to wash down the wine. Your uncle, I'm not asking you to drink 10 glasses in 1 breath. As he spoke, he enthusiastically picked up the stir-fried pork with chili peppers with his chopsticks and put it on the small plate in front of Yi Daijin. Eat the food. Thank you, uncle. Yi Daijin smiled, picked up the dish and put it into his mouth. Well, my aunt's cooking skills are really good. Seeing that her father no longer forced her to drink, Li Xiaowan finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, as soon as she sat back, she fell dizzy on the table and completely lost consciousness. Seeing this, Li Changhai was delighted and said with a smile, this child should not be drunk and act stubbornly. I will help her up first, and then we will continue. As he said this, he also wanted to get up, but just as he stood up, he felt dizzy. Uncle, are you okay? Yi Daijin quickly grabbed the man. It's okay, just a little. Before he could finish his sentence, Li Changhai's head tilted and fell on Yi Daijin. Changhai, Li Changhai. After calling twice and seeing no response, Yu Mingjiao couldn't help but get a little anxious. He's fainted, is he okay? Don't worry, I'll prepare the medicine for him later, and I guarantee he'll be full of energy. He'll think he looks like Jiao Chan when he sees a sow. As soon as these words came out, Yu Mingjiao immediately thought of the scene at noon, and her face was red as if bleeding. What about you? You just ate the drugged food. Don't worry about me, let's finish our business first. As he spoke, Yi Daijin had already carried the person on his shoulders and walked towards the backyard. Damn it, you still want to cheat me, just wait and see if I can cheat you to death, then you're done. Chapter 12, Overbearing CEO Li Changhai and his big plaid little wife. Yi Daijin carried the person over the backyard wall and even went around to the front to take a look. Seeing Zhang Laowu squatting under the telephone pole at the door and eating melon seeds, the guilt he still felt a little bit disappeared completely. He sneaked all the way to Zhang Laowu's house, climbed over the wall into the yard again, and soon found himself under the window sill of Wang Laowu's house. When I looked up, I saw Aunt Wu sitting on the kang, gnawing on a pig's trotter and watching TV, and she didn't notice that there was anyone outside. Yi Daijin originally planned to knock the other person unconscious and then create a scene of the two of them making out. But when he saw the big and strong fifth aunt sitting there like a mountain, he suddenly had a bold idea. Once this general grid is set in motion, the effect will definitely be better. When the time comes, I will use fifth aunt's hand to give Li Changhai a good beating, and he will have suffered the consequences for being silent. Thinking of this, Yi Daijin put the man at the door, tapped him on the chest twice, and then quickly hid behind the wall. Not long after, Li Changhai, who had been unconscious, staggered to his feet. After he took the medicine carefully prepared by Yi Daijin, it was just like taking Hong Sansan. Whatever he thought of, he saw it in front of him. When Li Changhai found himself at the home of the person he had been thinking about, Song Hanxiang, he felt the hormones in his body beating. He looked around before walking into their house. Old beating is really cautious. Yi Daijin curled his lips and quickly climbed over the wall to leave, ready to lure Zhang Laowu over again. In the house, Aunt Wu stared at the TV without even raising her head. She bit the pig's trotter with a stern face, obviously not intending to give Zhang Laowu a good face. I thought you weren't coming back. At this moment, in Li Changhai's eyes, the woman sitting on the kang was none other than Song Hanxiang, whom he had been thinking about day and night. The complaint, I thought you weren't coming back, was also heard as a spoiled, I thought you wouldn't come. Li Changhai rubbed his hands vigorously and said with a wicked smile, how could it be, I dreamed of coming here earlier. Fifth aunt looked up in surprise, and saw that the person who came back was not her husband, but the village chief Li Changhai. She was so frightened that the pig's trotter in her hand fell directly onto the kang. And the way he looked at me was exactly the same as the way I looked at the after-meal dessert. I really wanted to eat her up. At that moment, Aunt Wu felt goosebumps all over her body. However, before she could think any more, Li Changhai had already opened his arms and rushed towards her. Aunt Five was completely dumbfounded and pushed him in the chest without saying a word. Her body is not just empty flesh that looks good but is of no use. She often works in the fields, so she is strong and sturdy, and has much more strength than ordinary men. Li Changhai was not paying attention for a moment and sat down on the ground with a plop. Li Changhai, don't forget your own weight just because you drink some horse urine. Although you are the village chief, please be respectful. I am not that kind of person. If you continue like this, I will call for help. Fifth aunt put on her shoes and got off the kang, staring down at Li Changhai. Li Changhai didn't expect that Song Hanxiang was so strong, but it didn't matter. In terms of strength, she was just a woman. Don't shout, I have really liked you for a long time. Although I am old, I have many tricks. I can drink water like a big wolf dog. As he said this, he did not forget to lick his lips quickly. The fifth aunt had never been teased like this before, and her face immediately turned red. She turned her head away and said, don't talk nonsense, you've drunk too much, go home quickly, go home and have some water with your wife. After much difficulty, he was allowed into their house, and she looked so shy, so Li Changhai was unwilling to leave. He propped himself up, his face full of affection, I'm not much, really. I really have liked you for a long time, and I dream about you every day. As long as you follow me, I will kick Yu Mingjiao out and marry you when I get back. When you give birth to a son, I will leave the villa and savings to you and your son, and you will no longer have to live this hard life. As he spoke, Li Changhai had transformed into a domineering president and hugged his big, plaid, petite wife from behind. Although he felt that the waist was inexplicably thick, Li Changhai was already in full swing at this moment. He licked his face and moved towards the other's dark neck. Aunt Wu wanted to break free, but Li Changhai's hand had already reached into her clothes. Thinking of what he just said, the general grid is useless. Aunt Wu felt her whole body go limp and she had completely lost her ability to resist. When she was with Zhang Laowu, all they did was quarrel and fight. They had been together for more than 30 years, but she had never heard him say a single affectionate word. No matter how strong a woman is, she is still a woman and has a girlish heart that wants to be pampered. What's more, the village chief is a powerful and wealthy man who has been secretly in love with her for a long time and is willing to divorce his wife and marry her. At that moment, it was like a long drought followed by a downpour of rain. Moreover, she also wanted to try what it felt like for the big wolf dog to drink water. Are you really willing to marry me? Fifth Aunt's heart was beating fast. Seeing that the woman he had been thinking about no longer resisted, Li Changhai shouted excitedly, "Yes, of course I am willing, I swear." Before he could finish, Aunt Wu gently twisted her waist and said, "All right, I trust you, isn't it enough? You are really a hooligan at such an old age. Hey, I will only play tricks on you from now on." Aunt Wu was extremely shy. She looked at the beams and bit her lower lip hard. "What do you mean by the wolf dog drinking water?" Li Changhai paused and became more and more excited. "Let us have the feast. This time we really had a feast." He pulled his hands out of the other person's clothes and pushed him directly onto the kang. The sour smell made Li Changhai almost vomit out his overnight meal. But thinking that he had promised Song Hanxiang, he definitely couldn't give up halfway, so he had to bite the bullet and use his special skills. Aunt Wu was like a long-awaited rain after a long drought. She opened her mouth and shouted, "Husband, you are an old hooligan." This time, Li Changhai worked even harder. Li Changhai's home. Seeing Yi Daijin coming back, Yu Mingjie quickly stood up and asked, "What happened?" "Don't worry, it's done. Li Changhai will definitely not get any benefit. If he's unlucky, he might even break his arms and legs." Thinking of his fifth aunt beating up Li Changhai who had come to his house to molest her, Yi Daijin felt relieved. The next show will definitely be interesting. By the way, where's Xiaowan? I carried it upstairs. Yi Daijin nodded, then send the signal. After saying that, he walked back to his seat, put his face on the table, and pretended to be drunk. Yu Mingjie smiled, then picked up the wine bottle, took a deep breath and slammed it hard on the ground. Bang! A crisp sound. Zhang Laowu, who was squatting under a telephone pole eating melon seeds, stood up suddenly, threw away the melon seeds and walked into the yard angrily. Afraid that the old neighbors wouldn't hear him, he shouted at the top of his voice before he even entered the house, "Yi Daijin, you are simply a beast. You actually molested your future mother-in-law while drunk." Before he could even utter the word "mother," Zhang Laowu's voice suddenly stopped. Chapter 13 Uncle Wu, the village chief went to your house. Because at this time Yu Mingjiao had already walked out of the house. As if afraid that others couldn't hear him, he yelled at the top of his voice, "Zhang Laowu, are you sick? Which eye of yours saw others teasing me?" The two of them were shouting louder and louder. At this time, the neighbors who heard the noise had already run into the yard. "What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What are you arguing about so late at night? You have to ask Zhang Laowu." He rushed in for no reason and shouted that Yi Daijin was drunk and molested me before he even entered the room. "He ruined my reputation," Yu Mingjie said angrily. "Old five, how could you do this? You don't learn anything else, but you learn your wife's tricks of catching wind and shadows." "I?" Zhang Laowu was completely stunned. Laowu felt miserable, but he couldn't express it. But the script is not like this. Why would Yu Mingjie speak for Yi Daijin? Tell me, who ordered you to ruin my reputation? Yu Mingjie was already furious without even having to act. "You, what nonsense are you talking about? No one ordered me to do this. I just came to see the village chief and happened to see this." Zhang Laowu felt guilty, but the more he felt guilty, the louder he shouted. "I just saw Yi Daijin's hand reaching into your clothes. You're protecting him like this. Could it be that you two are having an affair? You're talking nonsense. If you dare to talk nonsense again, believe it or not, I'll let Changhai take down your accountant." When Zhang Laowu heard the other party mention Li Changhai, his confidence suddenly returned. Moreover, more and more people came to the yard to eat melons. With these people around, even if Yi Dejin really goes crazy in the house, they can control him. Following Li Changhai for many years, Zhang Laowu has learned some skills. He immediately said righteously, "It doesn't matter if I'm an accountant or not. I have always been upright and righteous, and I hate those who are greedy and dishonest. Since you said no, then why are you blocking the door? Is Yi Dejin drunk and acting crazy in the house? Are you afraid that everyone will see us?" At this moment, Zhang Laowu has transformed into a messenger of justice, as if he wants to restore light to this dark and chaotic world. Yumenjiao clenched her fists tightly. "You're talking nonsense." Changhai invited Dejin to his house for dinner to discuss marriage. It's normal for him to drink a few more glasses when he's happy, but he definitely didn't get drunk. If you don't believe me, you can come in and see for yourself. Yes, I heard about it. Yes, they came to our house to discuss the marriage. The whole family is here. I guess Da Zhen has the intention but not the courage to do it. Old 5, you must have seen it wrong. Besides, you can't see anything from here. Zhang Laowu, are you having a quarrel with Changhai? Otherwise, why would you ruin the reputation of his wife and future son-in-law? When these words were spoken, the villagers, who were already skeptical, raised their eyebrows. There are not many entertainment activities in the village. The villagers all love to eat melons, but no one wants to eat raw melon eggs. A village chief and an accountant work together every day, so it is normal for them to have some grudges in private that others are not aware of. Obviously, if this melon is kept ripe, everyone will be more willing to eat it. Zhang Laowu was almost crying because of the stupidity of these villagers who had led themselves astray. He took a deep breath and shouted, "The village chief and I are as close as brothers. We share food and drink together. How can there be any grudges between us? Since you don't believe me, why don't you go in and take a look? Look if you want, come in and see how a drunk man can touch me." Yumenjiao angrily moved away from the door. Seeing this, Zhang Laowu took the lead and walked into their house with his men. Everyone was stunned when they saw Yi Dejin lying unconscious on the table. "He's pretending, he must be pretending," said Zhang Laowu. Yumenjiao curled her lips in disdain. "You drink a bottle in one breath, and you tell me what it should be like. Aunt, what's going on?" The villagers were too lazy to pay attention to Zhang Laowu and all looked at Yumenjiao. Yumenjiao sighed, "It's a long story. Didn't Changhai ask for 1,000,000 yuan as a dowry? In fact, he just wanted to test whether Dejin was sincere to Xiewan. Just now, I heard Changhai say that if I drank 1 glass of wine, I would get 100,000 off, and if I drank 10 glasses, he would not ask for the betrothal gift. I was so happy that I drank too much." Hearing this, everyone's faces showed expressions of sudden enlightenment. Zhang Laowu went to look around, but he didn't see the village chief. He became a little anxious. If that's the case, then where are Changhai and his father? Didn't you say that Dejin was touching me? Yumenjiao asked back, "Tell me first, how could he be touching me when he was like this? Answer me first. Where are Changhai and his father? Were they killed by you two adulterers? Zhang Laowu, you'd better keep your mouth clean. Xiewan is drunk and sleeping upstairs. Changhai went to the toilet in the backyard. What's with that wine bottle sound?" Zhang Laowu felt something was wrong. "Can you still drink it after it's like this?" Yumenjiao said impatiently, "He asked me to pack my things and reminded me that this is Wuliangyi and the bottle can be sold for money, and asked me to be careful. I didn't hold it properly and it fell. But you heard the noise and barged in, and framed me. Is it really such a coincidence?" Yumenjiao's every word is full of gems. The speaker has good intentions, and the listeners also take it seriously. Yes, how could such a coincidence happen in the world? The villagers' unfriendly eyes have fallen on Zhang Laowu. The village cares most about reputation and is also more willing to sympathize with the weak. Yumenjiao is a weak woman, so she must be classified as a weak person. But, old man and young wife. Yumenjiao already had a lot of rumors surrounding her, so no matter how unpleasant the rumors were, the villagers would not sympathize with her. Because she asked for it. But Yi Dejin is different. He has been promising since he was young and has a good reputation in the village. Now, after finally crawling back from the brink of death, how difficult is it to find a good marriage? So everyone thinks that what Zhang Laowu did was not fair. You have a grudge against the village chief, you can use whatever tricks you want, whoever has the ability can do it, but you are wrong to mess things up and ruin the reputation of others. Zhang Laowu was already feeling guilty. Seeing the villagers looking at him like this, sweat broke out on his forehead. It's useless to say anything now. I want to find the village chief. Once I find him, the truth will come out. After saying that, Zhang Laowu walked quickly towards the back door. Yumenjiao sneered secretly. At this time, there was no need for her to show up, as some villagers had already begun trying to wake up Yi Dejin. Yi Dejin felt that the time was right, so he pretended to be drunk and said, "We agreed to drink 10 cups, so there is no need for a gift. Let me drink slowly and then we can continue, apk. Da Zhen, there are too many of you, go back quickly. Come on, lend a hand and help him back. Why are you all here? Where is my father-in-law?" As he was talking, Zhang Laowu, who had been looking for someone in vain, ran back in a panic. The village chief is missing, there is no one in the backyard, but the back door is open. What? My father-in-law is missing? Go find him right away. He's already very old, don't let anything happen to him. Yi Dejin's whole body trembled, as if he was 3 parts sober. In the eyes of everyone, this move is definitely a model of benevolence and righteousness. Yumenjie said anxiously, "Please help find him, he has been drinking a lot, it's late at night, if something happens to him, how will Xiewan and I survive?" As soon as these words were spoken, many people immediately rushed out, ready to look for someone first. But Zhang Laowu still didn't give up. When everyone else ran out, he was the only one who went upstairs. In the eyes of his fellow villagers, his behavior was so despicable and disgusting. However, he had just come downstairs after searching inside and outside. Someone came back in a hurry, and said at a loss, "Found it." Seeing him looking so flustered, Zhang Laowu's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that what was found was a corpse? Where is he? How did he die? Without waiting for everyone to speak, Zhang Laowu quickly rushed forward and grabbed the man by the collar. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. The young man looked a little unnatural. So cool. But can you say this? Uncle Wu, you should go and check it out yourself. The village chief is at your house. What? Zhang Laowu's expression changed and he turned to look at Yi Dejin and Yu Mingjiao. He was completely confident in his wife and instinctively suspected that the two of them had teamed up to kill someone and then framed him. But in the eyes of the villagers, this is a typical case of the thief crying, "Stop thief." However, things have developed to this point, and Zhang Laowu is too lazy to care what others think of him. Shanghai better be fine. Don't think you have done it perfectly. The police are not pushovers. After saying that, he quickly ran outside. Yu Mingjia was really anxious and looked at Yi Dejin instinctively. She didn't care whether Li Shanghai was dead or alive. She even wanted to kill him with her own hands. She was afraid that the police would find out and implicate an innocent person like Yi Dejin. But the more she did this, the more sympathetic her fellow villagers became. After all, you can tell the difference between real anxiety and fake anxiety at a glance. Everyone, let's go and have a look. Meng Jiao, no matter what happens, you must hold on. Everyone believes in you. Don't scare her. Yes. Old Li is a lucky man. There will definitely be no accidents. As they were talking, a group of people were surrounding Yu Mingjiao and walking quickly outside. Chapter 14, The Clever Shanghai's Reversal. Zhang Laowu's house. When the group arrived, a lot of people had already gathered outside the yard, watching the fuss in the yard with great interest. He ran away, he chased, and she kept urging him on. Laowu, you are so bold now. You don't listen to me, right? I order you to put down the shovel immediately. Aunt Wu protected Li Shanghai while urging Zhang Laowu to stop. Because the person behind him is no longer just the village chief, but his beloved wolf. When Zhang Laowu saw that his wife was still protecting him, he felt like his lungs were about to explode. I trusted him so much that I even waited at his doorstep to help him catch his adultery without even having a meal. But he was just pretending to build a plank road but secretly attacking Qinshan. He didn't intend to capture Yi Dejin at all, but clearly wanted to tie himself up there so that he would have the opportunity to come to his own house and steal. The more he thought about it, the angrier Zhang Laowu got. Shut up, I was caught on the kang, and you, a bitch, still have the nerve to say that. Get out of here now, if I don't kill him today, I'll have to bear his last name for the rest of my life. Old 5, listen to my explanation. It's not what you think, Li Chanhai said with a sad face. He was awake now, but at this moment his bright head was filled with confusion. After all, anyone would be confused if they were dragged out of the king naked and chased for a long time. Explain your grandma's leg, Li Chanhai, I will fight you. Zhang Laowu shouted angrily, already ready to kill. Aunt Wu tried to stop him, but he hit her on the butt with a shovel. She fell to the ground and didn't get up for a long time. Li Chanhai let out a strange cry and circled around him again. It seems to be voluntary. That's true. Otherwise, fifth aunt wouldn't have protected him. Oh, I never thought that the village chief has such a beautiful wife at home, but he actually went to fifth aunt to get his hands on her. How could he have the heart to do that? Stop talking, my beautiful wife is here. The villagers who were talking about it shut up and made way for the other party. Seeing the scene before him, Yi Daijin was as shocked as everyone else. How the hell is this possible? Fifth aunt didn't resist. That doesn't make sense. Old 5, stop it. At this moment, a gentle cry suddenly drowned out all other sounds, and then Yuminjie walked into the yard. Li Chanhai was delighted and quickly shouted, "Wife, call the police to save me." Bang! Yuminjie walked forward and without saying a word, slapped Li Chanhai hard in the face. She had waited too long for this moment. It's not too late. How dare you hit me? Li Chanhai covered his face, completely stunned. Obviously, he didn't expect that Yuminjie would be so bold as to hit him in public. Not only am I going to beat you, I'm also going to divorce you, you beast. Yuminjie gnashed her teeth and said, "You are simply not a human being. You actually got together with Aunt Wu behind my back. I think you are disgusting." After saying that, he stomped his feet and returned to the crowd. Seeing this, everyone offered words of comfort, and all kinds of accusations rang through their ears at this time. Li Chanhai, you are the village chief, how can you do such a thing? That's right, what's so good about Lao Wu's house? How can you like this? As the old saying goes, everything turns to its opposite when it reaches its extreme. I am tired of seeing things that are too pretty. Maybe I will like the ones from Lao Wu's house now. Look at what you're saying. The fifth child is just a little fatter and darker, but is much more well-proportioned. Aunt Fifth gossips behind her back every day, and the villagers naturally don't mind making fun of her when they get the chance. Under normal circumstances, upon hearing this, Zhang Laowu would definitely stand up for his wife. But now, after hearing this, I felt relieved. I glared at the couple in front of me and cursed, "Old man, your wife deserves to divorce you, and you, a slut who doesn't keep your husband's promise, don't look at me. I won't live with you anymore. Whether I loved you or not, do you think I am willing to live with you? You can't get anything out of me. There is no romance at all. Without you, Changhai and I are happier." Fifth aunt was also angry. But after hearing this, Li Chanhai felt as uncomfortable as if he had eaten a fly. Follow me. He doesn't even look at how he looks, his legs aren't long, he isn't tall, and his neck is all waist. She can't survive without cooking soup, steaming buns and sweeping the house. Would you marry a woman like this and worship her as a door god? Especially when he saw fifth aunt looking at him lovingly, Li Chanhai felt that the worms in his stomach were beginning to pupate. However, at this moment, Yuminjie choked up and shouted in the crowd, "Don't persuade me, I have made up my mind. It happens that everyone is here to bear witness to me. Anyway, he hasn't obtained the marriage certificate with me yet. I will leave tonight to make room for some people." Li Chanhai looked up, and as if it was God's will, his eyes met Yi Daijin's. That playful look made Li Chanhai feel like he was struck by lightning. At that moment, everything made sense. Thinking about how he had set up a trap, but was instead tricked by his wife and others, Li Chanhai was shaking with anger. He glared, raised his hands, and shouted angrily, it's you, Yi Daijin, Yu Mingjiao, you two bastards teamed up to harm me. Father-in-law, you are going too far. If you don't want to acknowledge this marriage, just say so. You are embarrassing yourself, why are you dragging me into this?" Yi Daijin's eyes widened and he said angrily, "You invited me to your house for dinner, you forced me to drink, and finally you found an excuse to go out and leak it into Aunt Five's bed. You even dragged me into this. No wonder people say you are scheming. I think you haven't put your kindness to good use at all. You're talking nonsense. This is a trap. You and Yumin Jiao teamed up to set it up for me. Li Chanhai was so angry that spit flew out of his mouth. He wanted to rush up and hit someone, but at this moment, Zhang Laowu came to his senses and hit him directly on the leg with a shovel. With a scream, Li Chanhai fell to the ground. Zhang Laowu's eyes turned red with anger, and he raised his shovel to hit Li Chanhai on the head. At this time, several of Li Chanhai's family members had rushed into the yard and held the man down. Let me go, let me go, let me kill this beast with a human face and a beastly heart. Veins popped out on Zhang Laowu's forehead, and he cursed while struggling. Do you know why I framed Yi Daijin? It was him, this old beast, who made me do it. As soon as these words were spoken, there was an uproar at the scene again. What's going on today? Big news comes one after another. I guess there haven't been so many melons to eat since the Daixia Liu village was established. He also said. Shut up. Without waiting for Zhang Laowu to finish, Li Chanhai ignored the pain in his legs and shouted, I admit that I asked him to do it. I just don't want my daughter to marry Yi Daijin and live a life of poverty and hardship with him. So I thought of a way to ruin his reputation. Am I wrong? It should be said that the village's smartest man is not called that for nothing. As he was talking, Li Chanhai actually started crying in public. Not only is it not wrong, but he has portrayed himself as a good father who is devoted to his daughter. You know what, there are actually quite a few people who believe it. Chanhai, even if you want Xiao Wan, you can't think of this way. That's right. You don't care about Da Zhen, but you have to consider your wife. How are you going to let Meng Jiao live in the future? It's my fault for not thinking about it enough. Li Chanhai looked ashamed, but he had already sneered in his heart. You still want to divorce me? No way. Yi Daijin secretly glanced at Yumin Jiao, and seeing that she had run out of ideas, he simply stood up and said, Then how do you explain the fact that you slept with Aunt Wu? Chapter 15. I'm determined to give birth to this son. Yumin Jiao didn't dare to continue talking, probably because she was afraid of being retaliated against by Li Chanhai afterwards. But he is not afraid. Even if I can't kill that beast Li Chanhai today, I must help Yumin Jiao escape from this suffering. Sure enough, Li Chanhai got stuck. He glared at Yi Daijin angrily, wishing he could eat him alive. How could he have forgotten about this little bastard? But some things can be said, and some things cannot. He was sure that in the current situation, if he told Yumin Jiao about the drugging, she would definitely kill him to force him, and even more troubles might be involved. This not only makes him seem too despicable. The good image that was rebuilt with great difficulty will collapse in an instant. When being a village chief, personality is the most important. He gritted his teeth and said, I want to have a son. Am I wrong? Sure enough, someone empathized again. So that's what's going on. Chanhai is already half buried in the ground, so it's normal for him to want a son. It's really bad to not have a son. I'm just waiting to die. There's no one left. Meng Jiao has been married for 10 years, right? But there is still no child. Listening to everyone's discussions, Yumin Jiao's face turned pale and blue. Is it stupidity? Or ignorance? Neither. There is no way around it. Living in a village, especially a remote and backward village like theirs, the issue of continuing the family line is a topic that can never be avoided. It is not uncommon for a man to push his wife into someone else's bed in order to have a son. He just wants a son, is that wrong? Even though Yi Daijin hated Li Chanhai to death, he couldn't help but give him a thumbs up in his heart. As expected of an old village chief who has been in office for many years, he is eloquent and unmatched. He also knew that he would not be able to kill Li Chanhai today. After all, the key figure Zhang Laowu had been controlled by the Li family, and he had made it very clear that continuing would only backfire. So he could only wink at Yumin Jiao secretly. As for whether she can seize the opportunity, it all depends on herself. Yumin Jiao's heart was beating wildly. She knew what Yi Daijin meant, but she was afraid that Li Chanhai would continue to take revenge on his family members afterwards. But she also knew that this was her only chance to escape from the sea of suffering. If she didn't escape, Li Chanhai would never let her go and would only torture her even more severely. Gritting her teeth, she said, Since you think I can't give you a son, then let's just live like this. After saying that, she turned around, squeezed out of the crowd, and left in a hurry. Li Chanhai never expected that Yumin Jiao would dare to leave him. I was so angry that I wanted to bite my teeth to pieces. My head was hot and I was like a madman. It's okay, everyone is here today. Come to my house for the wedding in 3 days. I will definitely give birth to this son. After this was said, everyone really didn't know how to persuade him. This is someone else's family affair. It's okay for them to watch the fun, but no one really wants to get involved. Besides, now that Yu Mingjiao is gone, there is nothing exciting to watch, so many people have already started to ask their wives and children to go home. After all, what happened next was not a good thing. Anyway, everyone knows what they should know. Staying and watching will only make the Zhang and Li families unhappy. Before long, only a few people from Lao Li's family were left at the scene, confronting each other with a few people from Lao Zhang's family. Li Changhai is the village chief, and the Li family has benefited a lot from him, so no matter whether you are right or wrong, you have to stand with him. Although the Zhang family is a little weaker, they are in the right, so they are not pushovers. The happiest person must be Aunt 5. Li Changhai said that he would get married in 3 days. Needless to say, with his love for me, he would definitely marry me. And she gave birth to a son. The foundation is also good. There must be no one else except her. As for Zhang Laowu, who had lived with me for more than 20 years. If you don't love someone anymore, it's natural to let go. Besides, for so many years, she and Zhang Laowu had nothing but quarrels and fights, and had never enjoyed any sweet words. She is big, but she is a delicate girl at heart. Especially at this age, once the seeds of love take root, they will grow into towering trees in the blink of an eye. She felt that she should be willful for once and pursue true happiness. After figuring this out, Aunt Wu raised her sleeves and wiped the tears from her face. Changhai, take the people back first, and I'll take care of the rest. Don't leave. I'm going to call the police to have you 2 adulterers arrested. Zhang Laowu was so furious, how could he let him go? You want a son, you have needs. But you can't have a baby with my wife. I treat you as a brother, and you come to me to borrow my chicken. Just because you can't give birth to a son, don't you have any responsibility at all? Can you let me into your home and try? I did it voluntarily. I was the one who hooked up with Changhai. Come to me if you have any problem. Aunt Wu pinched her waist. For the sake of her future happiness, she didn't care about her face anymore. When these words were spoken, no matter whether it was the Li family or the Zhang family, everyone was stunned. Immediately afterwards, the Zhang family members who had been so aggressive at first lost their tempers one by one. One of them patted Zhang Laowu on the shoulder, and without saying anything, they all walked out of the yard. Seeing this, Li Changhai hurriedly took his family and left. In the blink of an eye, only Zhang Laowu and his wife were left at the scene. Zhang Laowu squatted on the ground dejectedly, wanting to cry but unable to. He would never want this woman again, even if he was beaten to death. Let's get a divorce. Thinking that she would become the wife of the village chief and move into the small villa in 3 days, Fifth Aunt was very confident. Divorce if you want. There is no romance at all. I can't live with you any longer. I will go to the town to handle the divorce procedures tomorrow. Whoever doesn't go is not a human being. We will sleep in separate rooms tonight. Zhang Laowu stood up with a bang, his eyes bloodshot. You are shameless and you are still excited, right? Break up if you want, I have had enough of you a long time ago. You cheated first, you don't want a penny. Who cares about your filthy money? Fifth Aunt curled her lips in disdain. Men without ability can only yell. Changhai is better, he is gentle and considerate. As she thought about it, she raised her head proudly and walked into their house. Wang Xiuhua, you. Zhang Laowu covered his chest and almost fainted on the spot. At the same time, Yi Dejin has returned home. As soon as I entered the door, I saw Song Hanxiang standing at the entrance. It was obvious that she had just returned and was waiting for me. When their eyes met, Yi Dejin's face was full of smiles, but Song Hanxiang's face was full of sorrow. What's wrong? Aren't you relieved? Zhang Laowu is not a good person either. I might as well take advantage of his advantage and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let them fight each other. You don't think I'm too despicable, do you? Yi Dejin walked forward and instinctively wanted to hold Song Hanxiang's hand. Song Hanxiang pulled her hand away, took 2 steps back, and frowned. How is that possible? I feel relieved too. Then why do you look so sad? Yi Dejin was completely confused. Have you ever thought about it? You feel relieved now, But what are you and Xiewan going to do in the future? Hearing this, Yi Daijin was so moved that he said, if she doesn't want to marry me, then why don't you marry me? Chapter 16 Sister Song, don't want it, send the antidote. Song Hanxiang's cheeks turned red. Go away, you are getting more and more frivolous. I will ignore you and go to bed early. After saying that, she closed the small door with her backhand, and then leaned heavily against the door, her heart beating faster and faster. She was very worried that Yi Daijin and Li Xiaowan would break up, but when she thought about how they really broke up, she felt inexplicably happy. Yi Daijin felt warm in his heart. He approached the small door and said seriously, I know you haven't left yet. Think about it carefully. If you can't sleep, the door of my room is open. Hearing this, Song Hanxiang was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. If you do this again, I will move out tomorrow. Yi Daijin grinned, what are you thinking about? I mean, if you can't sleep, you can come and talk to me. As soon as these words came out, Song Hanxiang bit her lower lip tightly, and her face turned red so much that blood might drip out. Without saying a word, he stomped his feet and walked into their house. Yi Daijin grinned, put his hands behind his back, turned around and went back to his room. He fell on the kang, turned off the light, looked at the ceiling quietly, and began to think about going into the city tomorrow. If I guessed correctly, that couple must have usurped the throne and occupied my clinic. I just don't know what kind of expression those two guys will have when they see me. Just as I was daydreaming, I suddenly heard a burst of light footsteps in the yard. It's very light, and you can tell from the sound that it's done secretly and the person dares not see anyone. Yi Daijin couldn't help but laugh. Could it be that his sister-in-law really figured it out? Thinking of this, he quickly closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. After all, only when he fell asleep would Song Hanxiang become bolder. The curtains were drawn in the room, and it was pitch dark, with no sight of one's hand in front of one's face. Feeling the other person getting on the kang and getting closer and closer to him, Yi Daijin's heart beat faster and faster. The pair of soft and boneless little hands on his body were like blowing the horn of charge. The blood in Yi Daijin's body started to boil at this moment. He turned over and pressed the man under him. The passionate and fierce battle also started at this moment. Sister-in-law, can I scare you? Yi Daijin said excitedly. The woman laughed breathlessly, well, sure. You're really unique. Some people like to call someone their wife, but you actually like to call someone your sister-in-law. When Yi Daijin heard that it was not Song Hanxiang's voice, his heart skipped a beat and he quickly pulled the light cord. The dazzling light made the woman cover her face instinctively. But when he saw the disheveled woman below, Yi Daijin was completely stunned. Why is it you? Why can't it be me? I'm here to bring you the antidote, don't hold it in, hurry up, just go ahead. Yi Daijin never thought of himself as a gentleman, but when he thought of Yu Mingjiao's identity and experience, he quickly climbed up from her. How did you get in? Climb over the wall. Yu Mingjiao was straightforward. She adjusted herself to the light in the room and sat up by supporting herself on the kang. But those eyes were staring at Yi Daijin. You really don't want to? I don't want to. Yi Daijin said. He. You were like a calf just now and almost pushed me to death. Do you not want to or do you dare not? Yu Mingjiao pulled the ends of her hair and smiled sweetly. Both. Don't worry, I'll be leaving after tonight, and maybe I'll never come back here again in my life. I'll give it to you once, and consider it as a way of repaying you. As they were talking, Yu Mingjiao had already come closer. Originally, Yi Daijin was planning to push the other person away, but the other person had already controlled his most sensitive nerves. When things developed to this point, Yi Daijin was not Liu Xiaohui after all. He got hot-headed and rolled over onto the kang with her. Daijin, I want to ride a big horse. If you're not afraid of being thrown to pieces, then just ride. Then let's make a bet to see if I'm a better rider or your horse is hard to tame. Half an hour later. No, this horse of yours cannot be tamed at all. Yu Mingjiao lay on Yi Daijin, feeling like her body was about to fall apart. But Yi Daijin was still very excited. To be exact, he was even more excited than at the beginning. Because the body had been transformed by the spirit dragon soul, during the process of yin and yang fusion, it actually triggered a hidden buff and entered an extreme state of cultivation. His body was like a huge swallowing vortex. He could continuously absorb the vital energy of heaven and earth hidden in the air into his body without any deliberate meditation. He excitedly stroked the smooth back gently and said with a smile, "Why don't you come down then?" "No, you haven't scared me yet. Besides, I'm leaving tomorrow. You don't know that the less capable Li Chanhai is, the more he wants to do those crooked things. Every time I'm with him, I feel like I've entered the 18th level of hell." "Then I'll send you to heaven." Yi Daijin pushed back. Another half an hour passed. There was no movement in the dark room. Yu Mingjiao curled up tightly in Yi Daijin's arms. "Daijin, I know Li Chanhai has wronged you and you want to take revenge on him, but Li Chanhai is Li Chanhai and Xiewan is Xiewan. Can you please not implicate her? The only person she was worried about when she left was Li Xiewan. They are nominally mother and daughter, but more like sisters, and their relationship was pretty good in the past. Don't worry, I understand." Yi Daijin felt bitter. Not to mention Meng Jiao, he also didn't have the heart to involve Li Xiewan with his hatred for Li Chanhai. Upon hearing that there was a way, Yu Mingjiao immediately became excited. She knew better than anyone how much that girl liked Yi Daijin. Before leaving, he naturally thought about helping Li Xiewan. "Will you marry her? Xiewan is a good girl." Yu Mingjiao had just started to whisper in her ear when Yi Daijin suddenly covered her mouth. At that moment, Yu Mingjiao was completely dumbfounded. "Did I blow it wrong?" "Not really." "Sure, don't make any noise, someone is coming," Yi Daijin said in a low voice. Yu Mingjiao's heart skipped a beat, but soon she became silent. Outside the room, Song Hanxiang raised her hand to push the door, but her hand remained suspended in mid-air and her heart beat faster and faster. She was nervous, and weren't the two people in the room either, feeling so suffocated that they didn't even dare to take a breath. Yi Daijin's head was buzzing. He was afraid that his sister-in-law would come in, and also afraid that she would leave. To be honest, he felt a little regretful. If he had known that Song Hanxiang would come, why did he let Yu Mingjie stay overnight? Forget it, he should be asleep. Song Hanxiang sighed softly, turned around and prepared to go back. After all, she was able to come here because she had mustered up her strength. But the closer we get to the door, the less confident we become. "Sister-in-law, are you outside?" Yi Daijin shouted for some unknown reason. But he regretted it after he shouted. "Yes, you are reluctant to let her go, but don't you have any idea what is going on in the room?" Song Hanxiang stopped and her face turned red like a fireball in an instant. "Well, then, can I go in and get my phone?" Chapter 17 Sister-in-law's Secret. In the room, Yu Mingjie's eyes widened. She felt that Yi Daijin must have been kicked in the head by a donkey. Outside the room, Song Hanxiang was a little excited and wanted to go in. But he also felt a little regretful. If he really went in, would Yi Daijin think he was too casual? Yi Daijin was also filled with regret. Clearing his throat, he said, "Sister-in-law, can you lend me your phone first? I'll go into the city tomorrow and give it to you when I come back." "Is that so?" "Okay, I can't use it anyway, so you can use it first." After saying that, Song Hanxiang turned around and walked quickly towards her yard. Although Yi Daijin didn't let him in, it at least showed that he was a good person, not the incompetent person he said every day. Hearing the footsteps gradually fading away, the two people in the room breathed a sigh of relief. Yu Mingjie seemed to have figured something out, and said in shock, "Oh, I see, no wonder you called me sister-in-law just now, it turns out. All right, stop talking and put on your clothes so I can take you away." "Hey, you are such a scoundrel after getting an advantage." Yu Mingjie didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but your sister-in-law is a really nice person. "I have a secret about your sister-in-law, do you want to know?" "What secret?" Yi Daijin was stunned. "Do you know why Li Chanhai is so attached to your sister-in-law?" Yu Mingjie asked mysteriously. "Because she's pretty. He wants to have a son, so who knows how many people he's been clinging to behind your back." Yu Mingjie. "Aren't there many beautiful girls in our village?" She lowered her voice and said confidently, "In fact, your sister-in-law is still a virgin." After hearing this, Yi Daijin was so shocked that he couldn't believe his ears. "How is this possible?" Yu Mingjie sighed quietly, "What's impossible?" Although Li Chanhai is shameless, he is still very cautious about having a son. He will only look for virgin girls because he is afraid that women who have given birth to children will not treat their sons well in the future. Maybe if he really had a son, he would indeed be a good father, but not a good man. Yi Daijin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, "It is impossible that the brother-in-law and sister-in-law who are so loving to each other have never slept together. So this is what is going on. In everything, we must see the essence of things. Song Hanxiang is a widower and has never given birth to a child. She is a virgin, but does she meet Li Changhai's standards? However, Yu Mingjiao is also a top-notch person, she is so good at association. Anyway, I've said everything I need to say, believe it or not." Yu Mingjiao patted Yi Dajian's shoulder gently, then put on her clothes quickly. After this incident, she was afraid that things would get more complicated, so she didn't dare to stay at Yi Dajian's house. "I'll leave by myself later. You don't have to see me off. I'll call a car myself." Yu Mingjiao pulled up her pants, put on her shoes and got off the kang. "The taxi can only take you to town, and there's a long mountain road to town. Aren't you afraid of encountering ghosts? Sometimes, people are scarier than ghosts." Yu Mingjiao took a deep breath and said, "Don't send me off. I'll leave the same way I came. If your sister-in-law sees us and affects your relationship, I won't be responsible." Although they didn't spend much time together, they did have a brief romance. This is a woman with a miserable life. To say that you don't worry about her future life at all is simply heartless. "Where are you going?" Yi Dajian asked. Hearing this, Yu Mingjiao was stunned for a moment, then turned around with a smile. "What? You're addicted after just one time. Do you want to do it again, and then I'll leave?" "Oh, I was worried that you had nowhere to go." "Is that so?" "Actually, I haven't thought about it yet. I'll just take it one step at a time. I will definitely not go back to my parents' home. Of course, if we meet again, I won't sleep with you. You are just an animal." Yi Dajian, no ads, the fastest update. To avoid losing content downloads while switching, please come and experience the ad-free reading app iDo free novel app. As for Yu Mingjiao's words, he didn't take it to heart at all. On the other hand, Li Changhai did want to take revenge on him, but as the village chief, his revenge was justified and he could use his power to pressure others. Sneaking around, is it necessary? After seeing off his relatives with profuse thanks and closing the door, Li Changhai's face became ferocious. "Damn it! They actually teamed up to plot against me. Isn't that embarrassing for me? Fine, just wait until I marry Song Hanxiang back, and then we'll see who will be embarrassed." He took a deep breath, took out his cell phone and quickly picked up a number. "Hello, it's me, help me." The next day, before dawn, Song Hanxiang was awakened by the noise outside. He ran over and took a look, and was stunned. This guy is too energetic, isn't he? Before dawn, Yi Dajian was mixing cement in the yard with his bare chest, which really confused Song Hanxiang. "What are you doing?" Yi Dajian said with lingering fear, "For safety, I plan to install some glass shards on our courtyard wall, so that we won't be afraid of someone climbing over the wall in the middle of the night." When he thought of Yu Mingjiao, he remembered the visit his sister-in-law came last night. I regretted not letting her into their house, and who knows what Song Hanxiang would think. So that's how it is. Song Hanxiang felt happy. She knew without any guessing that it was for her own safety. This guy is quite thoughtful. "Let me help you," Song Hanxiang said. As the saying goes, men and women work together, and work is not tiring. Yi Dajian certainly had no objection. "Okay, break those wine bottles in the corner." While Song Hanxiang was smashing their wine bottles, Yi Dajian also mixed the ash left over from building the house. People who grew up in the countryside have some skills. Before his death, Godfather Wu Shixian was a well-known bricklayer. It cannot be said that Yi Dajian was precocious, it was mainly because he had experienced too much. When he first came to the Wu family at the age of 7 or 8, he was very cautious and rushed to do all their work. Later, when he grew up a little, although his godfather and godmother were always very good to him, he was still living under someone else's roof, so during the holidays he followed his godfather and godmother to build houses for people in the surrounding villages. Even though I haven't done it for many years, it's just like that when I pick up a tile knife. The two worked for more than 2 hours and finally covered the entire courtyard wall with broken glass. The early morning sun reflected on the bottle, making it sparkle and look very beautiful. Song Hanxiang stood under the windowsill, pinching her waist, and looked around. She admired sincerely. "I never knew that you, a college student, know so much." "I know more than this." Yi Dajian chuckled. "TSK, I told you you're fat and you're still out of breath. Hurry up and clean up. I'm going to cook." It's almost 7 o'clock. Song Hanxiang said with a pout. No, I'm going to the county later and take the earliest bus. Chapter 18 South Vietnamese Bride. Yeah. Song Hanxiang nodded and hurried back to her yard. Yi Daejin skillfully put the tools back into the small hut, then went back to the house to change his clothes, and put the boulder boiling Ganoderma lucidum into the shoulder bag he had found a long time ago. At this time, Song Hanxiang came in with a handful of French bread. Take this with you, it will fill your stomach on the way. I'd better eat before I leave. Yi Daejin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He certainly couldn't refuse his sister-in-law's kindness, but it was indeed not very convenient to carry this thing with him on the road. As he spoke, he took his things and went to the outer room. Standing next to the cupboard, he ate while pouring himself a bowl of hot water from the thermos. Song Hanxiang glanced at the shoulder bag on the kang, instinctively clasped her hands to her chest, opened her mouth to ask, but before she could say anything, her heart seemed to jump out of her throat. The packages are ready. Are you not planning to come back? Yes, they are used to living in the city. How could they be willing to go back to the village to live? Otherwise, why would he put broken glass on the wall? It's really for my own safety. But in the end, I was just overthinking it. Thinking that Yi Daejin might never come back after he left, Song Hanxiang felt inexplicably lost. She is very conflicted. I want to ask, but I'm afraid the answer I get may be different from what I expect. At this time, Yi Daejin had wolfed down the bread and walked into the house. He picked up his bag and hung it around his neck. Be careful at home. I'm leaving first. Seeing him step out of the house, Song Hanxiang simply made up her mind. Are you not coming back? Yi Daejin was puzzled, but when he saw his sister-in-law's expression, he seemed to understand everything. He smiled and said, Do you want me to come back? That's your business. Who am I? How can I be your master? Song Hanxiang instinctively turned her head away. Then let me kiss you, and I'll let you make the decision from now on and listen to you on everything. How about that? Yi Daejin chuckled and moved closer while speaking. Feeling the scorching breath, Song Hanxiang's face suddenly turned red like a fireball, and she quickly stood up to avoid Yi Daejin. You are talking nonsense again. I am just afraid that you will take my phone away. You better be careful. There are many thieves in the car. Don't lose my phone. After saying that, he didn't even give Yi Daejin a chance to speak again and fled out of the house. Yi Daejin grinned, walked outside, and shouted toward the small door, I rode away on the battery bike. Song Hanxiang's voice came from the other side of the small door. You can store your bike at the supermarket on the right side of the station. It's 3 yuan. Don't give more. There's money in your phone. Good. Yi Daejin felt warm in his heart, pushed the cart and hurried out. Not long after, he arrived at Jinyu Town. Jinyu Town is located in the hinterland of the Hengduan Mountains, surrounded by mountain roads. It is 70 or 80 miles away from the county seat, so it has not been able to develop. It is called a station, but in fact it is just a sign in front of the town government. There is an old King Long bus running once in the morning and once in the afternoon. The car is old, and you can imagine the environment inside. He arrived not too early, and the good seats in the front were already full. I had to find a seat near the window at the back. Yi Da was so tall that I couldn't even stretch my legs when I sat there. It was so uncomfortable. Just as he was thinking about it, a faint fragrance suddenly appeared in the pungent sour air, and Yi Da couldn't even raise his head. A woman in a beige jumpsuit and large fishnet stockings just walked up to him. When their eyes met, a hint of surprise flashed across the woman's face. She spoke in not very fluent Mandarin. You are Yi Daejin. Yi Daejin instinctively glanced at the snow grooves squeezed out of the peach-shaped collar, a little unsure. Are you Aunt Shigang? Yes, I am Wu Shigang's wife. When we got married, it was you who helped find the wedding car. Do you want to move forward? Just then, someone behind urged. The woman glanced at the seats at the back, then said to Yi Daejin, let me sit next to you. Okay, you sit inside. Yi Daejin quickly picked up his bag and stood up, letting her sit inside. Wu Shigang was the youngest brother of his godfather's branch, and the woman in front of him was the South Vietnamese bride he married. To be honest, if the other party hadn't recognized him, he really wouldn't have dared to recognize him outside. After all, they are only 400 or 500 miles away from the border of South Vietnam, and there are still many local South Vietnamese brides. Her original name was Li Cao. After she came here and settled down, her name was translated as my Fankao. After getting married, Wu Shigang was often teased by others, saying that the 98,000 yuan was well worth it. Although my Fankao is not tall, she has a good figure, an oval face, high brow bones, deep eye sockets, plump lips and white teeth, making her unforgettable at first sight. My Fankao put the bag on her lap and asked, "When did you wake up?" It was at this time that the car started. Yi Daijin turned his head and just saw the pair of big snow-white kids jumping around as the car jolted them. Yi Daijin retracted his gaze without leaving a trace and sat up straight. "You went into the city alone these few days. Why didn't my uncle follow you?" My Fangsao's eyes flashed with pain. She tightened the bag in her hand and turned her head to the window. "I'll go around by myself. He has something to do." "Oh." Yi Daijin just nodded, thinking that his uncle was really generous. Although he married this South Vietnamese bride through legitimate channels, she is not a local after all. If he doesn't stay with her, well, what if she is kidnapped away? However, the two had only met once when they got married, and they were not familiar with each other, so there was nothing to talk about. After a few brief exchanges, they began to take a rest or play with their phones like most people in the car. After all, it takes at least an hour to get to the county town through dozens of miles of mountain roads. The space in front of the seat was very narrow, so Yi Daijin deliberately stretched one leg out of the car, putting 2 fingers distance between his leg and hers. Not only that, in order to keep a distance from her, Yi Daijin only sat on half of his butt. Although my Fankao was playing with her cell phone, he saw all of this. "I thought that my eldest nephew was still as decent as ever." This reminded her of the days when she got married. To use their words here, they were the 3 days of being disrespectful to each other during the wedding. At that time, many boys about the same age as Wu Shigang and Yi Daijin came to their house to make trouble. They all touched them randomly, but Yi Daijin never touched him. Moreover, he was also the one who performed best among the group, which left a deep impression on her. "Maybe he can help me." Thinking of this, my Fankao raised her hand and gently patted Yi Daijin. "Daijin, come sit inside, it's okay." Yi Daijin was stunned for a moment, then he sat up straight and said with a smile, "It's okay, it's too narrow inside and I can't move around. This is fine." Although this aunt is a foreigner, she has a very good personality. "Are you going home now?" "Just going to visit the county and meet some old friends." "Oh, so that's it." My Fankao nodded. Seeing that she tightened the bag in her hand and was obviously hesitant to speak, Yi Daijin said, "We are all family, just tell me if you have anything to say. I really have something to do, and I want to ask you for a favor, but I'm afraid you don't have time. I'm just meeting a few friends. It won't take long." "Then come closer." "R." My Fankao bit her lower lip and simply leaned over. Before Yi Daijin could come to his senses, he felt a twitching sensation on his arm, and then a small hand grabbed his ear. "See you at 9:30, 301, 3rd floor, Station Hotel." After saying that, she sat up straight, blushed and turned her head towards the car window. Yi Daijin couldn't help but swallow his saliva. This young aunt is dressed so beautifully, and in a hotel. Can I go? Chapter 19 Women's Schemes. There was no communication between the two during the rest of the journey. Yi Daijin was also afraid that there might be ears on the other side of the wall. To put it bluntly, the entire Jinyu town is only a small place the size of a palm. The slightest rumor will become known to everyone. Only after getting off the bus and leaving the station did he quickly catch up with my Fankao. "Aunt Shigang, why did you ask me to come to you at 9:30? My Fankao blushed terribly and looked around. "Let's find a place and I'll tell you slowly." After saying that, she walked quickly forward. Soon the two of them were away from the busy station and stopped under a big tree where no one was. "Actually." My Fankao tightened the bag in her hand. "Actually, your uncle asked me to come." "What are you doing here?" Let me sleep with someone." Hiss. Yi Daijin's eyes widened instantly, he could hardly believe his ears. My Fankao lowered her head lower and her face became redder. "He asked you to come, and you came." Yi Daijin was so shocked. However, what shattered his worldview even more was yet to come. My mother-in-law also agrees with this. My Fankao sighed. She had been married to Wu Shigang for almost 4 years, but there was still no movement in her belly. What is that place in the village? That is the ideological low point of advanced education. If you only give birth to daughters, Others will call you an old bachelor behind your back, not to mention that you have no children at all and can't even give birth to a daughter. This brings up a rural secret that can only be understood but not expressed in words: the conspiracy. The so-called banding together simply means borrowing some seeds from others and planting them in your own fields. Now that you have borrowed it, you must strive for perfection. So his mother-in-law chose Boss Wang, who usually went to them to collect fruits and had a big business. Firstly, Boss Wang is a city dweller, smart and capable. Secondly, having an illegitimate child can help tie down the god of wealth. He has a family and a career, and for the sake of his family he would not talk nonsense to others. If he doesn't talk nonsense, there will be no rumors in the village. In this way, Wu Shigang's family can save face. It can be said that it kills 3 birds with 1 stone. As for whose child it is, it really seems insignificant when it comes to passing on the family line. To be honest, Yi Daijin didn't quite understand. There were many brides from South Vietnam who ran away secretly. Since Wu Shigang's family treated her like this, wouldn't it be enough for her to run away secretly? Yi Daijin was puzzled. Then what should I do? My Fankao looked frustrated. I want you to save me. I don't want to have a child with that Boss Wang. His face is covered with pimples, just like he was hit by a black magic. Yi Daijin's face twitched. Since you don't want to go, why don't you just refuse? No, my mother-in-law said that if I don't obey, she will sell me somewhere else. Yi Daijin said, then you run. Although, he shouldn't say such things because he is related to Wu Shigang. But what this mother and daughter did is truly unacceptable. My household registration and ID card have been hidden by my mother-in-law. I can't even leave the city. Where can I run? My Fankao was a little anxious. Besides, you don't know the situation over there. Girls are sold for money. Even if I run back home, my parents will sell me again. I don't have a hukou anymore, maybe they will sell me directly to Fanwu Lao Street. What is Fanwu Old Street for? He looked stunned. It's a place where people sell their bodies, similar to the bathing centers here. After all, I am beautiful, am I not? Well, that's the truth. Yi Daijin didn't know whether to cry or laugh. This foreign woman has very clear ideas. But now that you've gotten through today, what about tomorrow? Yi Daijin paused, fearing that she didn't understand, and continued, I mean, what should we do in the future? Let's get through today first. I'll think of other ways to deal with the future. Okay. Yi Daijin took out his cell phone and looked at it. I'll be there at 9:30. Thank you. My Fankao bowed deeply. You are a good person. A good person. Yi Daijin smiled bitterly. Unfortunately, good people don't get good rewards. Now I want to be a bad person. What's the meaning? That is to say, it's nothing. I'll leave first. See you at 9:30. After saying that, Yi Daijin turned and walked to the side of the road, hailed a taxi and got in. Watching the car go away, my Fankao didn't know what she was thinking about, and her cheeks flushed slightly. Good people will definitely be rewarded. 10 minutes later. Looking at the bustling vermicelli shop in front of him, Yi Daijin clenched his fists. He didn't expect that the couple took away his money, closed his clinic, and connected with the South Vietnamese noodle shop next door to become a team. He walked up to their boss who was making rice noodles, and he obviously didn't believe that the person in front of him was alive. Are you Dr. Yi? Come on, wife, look who's back. Soon, a woman came out with a pile of plates. She was also shocked when she saw the people. Xiao Yi? Are you all right? Hurry up and sit down. Lao Ju will make some noodles for Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi, what kind of soup do you want? I'll go get it for you. Brother Ju, sister-in-law, no need to bother. Yi Daijin smiled and greeted the two of them. By the way, what's going on with my store? You don't know. Both of them were stunned. Yi Daijin shook his head and said, tell me what happened in the past year. You were in a car accident while driving under the influence, and the hospital said the surgery would cost a lot of money, so Nan sold the store. Later, I saw the landlord was renting it out, so I discussed it with your sister-in-law and bought it. Mrs. Ju joked, Xiao Yi, Nan is really good to you. Look how well she has taken care of you. You seem to be whiter and fatter than before. Yes, she is so nice to me. Yi Daijin nodded with a smile. By the way, what's the landlord's phone number? Can you give me one? Of course. Lao Ju put down his work and took out his cell phone from his apron. Please write it down. Okay, thanks, Brother Ju. You guys keep busy. I'm leaving. Come over for noodles when you have time. After noting down the phone number, Yi Daejin turned around and left. Oh, by the way, has Lin Nan come back to see you guys recently? No, I haven't seen her since I sold the house. Thanks. Looking at the receding figure, Lao Ju couldn't help but ask, Wife, do you think we talked too much? What's the big deal? The person has woken up, how long can we keep it a secret? I guess I didn't tell him because I was afraid that Xiao Yi wouldn't be able to accept it. I was right next to him when he opened the shop. I watched him build his reputation bit by bit, working day and night, and spending so much effort. Now that it's all gone, it's strange that he can be in a good mood. That's right, but Nan Nan is really something. Wouldn't it be better to just explain it to him directly? You don't understand women. Come on, hurry up, they are urging you again. Okay, right away. To be honest, Yi Daejin was very puzzled. The house was under his name, so how did Lin Nan sell it? After the phone call, he understood everything and punched the tree next to him in anger. Although I was very angry, I couldn't help but admire the woman's ability. In fact, the operation is difficult and simple. Just take advantage of Yi Daejin's coma, take his household registration booklet and register your marriage, and then apply for a divorce certificate after all the property is transferred. If Yi Daejin himself or his family knew that there was a house, she would never succeed. Now that Lin Nan has fled far away, asking him to look for him by himself is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Yi Daejin simply went straight to the police station to report the case and got a new household registration ID card. However, even more outrageous things are yet to come. The police officer retrieved the file based on the ID number provided by Yi Daejin, and found that the person in the photo was not the same person at all. What's even more outrageous is that no matter whether it is a marriage certificate or a divorce certificate, the man on it is actually him. Such an outrageous case even alarmed the director. Due to the complexity of the case and the long time interval, it was very difficult for the police to handle it. The only thing to be thankful for is that there is Lin Nan's photo on the marriage certificate. Perhaps this is the only flaw. Young man, you have to be mentally prepared. After all, we are not far from the border, and the possibility of getting out is very high. But don't worry, our Hua County Police will strive to solve the case in a short time. Director Ma Jinhua patted Yi Daejin's shoulder gently. Yi Daejin was now mentally prepared. Thank you, Director Ma, I believe in you. Okay, remember my phone number. If you have any other clues, feel free to let me know. When he came out of the police station and looked at his cell phone, it was already 9:40. Yi Daejin thought to himself, oh no, and quickly hailed a taxi and headed straight for the station hotel. Chapter 20, Pulling the tiger's skin and waving the flag. By the time he arrived at the door of the room, another 10 minutes had passed. Yi Daejin was so eager to save people that he raised his leg and kicked the door open with a bang. After all, he was more than 20 minutes late and the child had been conceived several times. How could he not be anxious? Think about it, it's exciting to be sneaky, and when you're having the fun, the door suddenly opens with a bang. Who wouldn't be scared? The man pulled the quilt over him and immediately rolled off the bed, wrapping himself up so tightly that only his eyes were exposed. Who are you? Who let you in? Get out now. At this time, Mai Fangkao crossed her arms and hid behind Yi Daejin, choking and saying, why did you come just now? He almost succeeded. I was delayed by something. Yi Daejin felt a little embarrassed. Upon hearing this, Boss Wang, who had been curled up in the corner and afraid to see anyone, suddenly got angry. Okay, you're trying to set me up with a honey trap, right? He stood up with the help of the bed, shivering and cursing, obviously extremely angry. Yi Daejin was just so angry that he had no place to vent it. Seeing that he dared to get angry, he rushed up without saying a word. Why, you still want to do it? Bang! Before he could finish his words, Yi Daejin slapped him hard in the face. You're useless, you're fucking useless. Boss Wang covered his face and glared with his teeth bared. Fuck you. Yi Daejin grabbed the man's hair and pressed him down on the bed, punching him like crazy. In just a moment, Boss Wang's face swelled up like a pig's head, and the blood flowing from his mouth dyed the white sheets red. Although Boss Wang was beaten without any resistance, he was no pushover after doing business for so many years. You little bastard, if you have the guts, kill me today. Otherwise, I will put you in jail for the rest of your life just for hitting me. Upon hearing this, Yi Daijin raised his fist again but suddenly stopped in mid-air. It's already this time, and you still dare to yell in front of me. Is there something wrong with this guy's brain? Is this the smart gene that Wu Shigang and his mother carefully selected? Seeing him stop, Boss Wang thought he was scared and laughed bitterly. Why, you're scared now? I'm telling you, I have someone in the county bureau. Damn it, you dare to play a honey trap on me? I will send you 2 dogs to jail first, and then I will deal with Wu Shigang and his mother. No wonder the agreed upon thing happened. As soon as he arrived, my Fankao asked him to take a shower, but also resisted and didn't let him do it. It seemed like the whole thing was a setup. Fortunately, he has connections, so he doesn't have to worry at all. However, the next second, Yi Daijin's fist turned into a slap, and this time he used hidden strength. 2 back teeth with bloody veins flew out of his mouth. Boss Wang felt his head buzzing. How come this young man didn't seem to be afraid at all? I have someone in the police station. Isn't that obvious enough? Damn it, even if you have someone else, can he be tougher than mine? After the beating, Yi Daijin simply pulled the man to the ground with force, then sat down on the bed, looking down at the other person. Boss Wang had blood in his mouth and was a little scared for a moment. As the saying goes, help others to the end and send Buddha to the west. What Yi Daijin wanted was not the fear he said, but to make him tremble all over when he thought of him, and not dare to retaliate against him or Wu Shigang's family. The fight has been over, and the anger has been vented. The next step is to talk. Yi Daijin looked down at him and corroded him, and said with a joking smile, "Do you have a cell phone? Come on, call your people now and ask them to arrest me. No matter if you are trying to bluff or not, you must control the momentum." Sure enough, Boss Wang was a little panicked. I wonder if this kid really has some backing? But on second thought, he only relies on the area around Jinyu Town, and he has never heard of any talented people coming out of a ghost place like Xiaoliu village. Thinking that his cousin was the team leader, Boss Wang suddenly felt more confident. Damn it, you are too young to pretend in front of me. Today I will let you see what it means to have great connections. Thinking of this, he quickly reached for the cell phone on the bedside table. Seeing this, Yi Daijin was stunned on the spot. Damn it? Not scared. He was a little nervous. He is not worried at all about hitting people. But if the matter gets really serious, it will definitely spread throughout the village. The gangs are always done secretly. If you make such a big fuss, the backbone of Wu Shigang's family will be broken. Kid, don't regret it. After getting the phone, Boss Wang became more confident. He unlocked the phone while scolding Yi Daijin for being young. You're still scaring me. Was I brought up to be scared? However, at this moment, Yi Daijin also took out his cell phone and said, "Hurry up and call. I just happen to have something to do with Director Ma Jinhua. Ask him to come along." As soon as these words came out, Boss Wang was so scared that his phone dropped to the ground. What did you just say? Do you know Director Ma? It's not that I know him, but we are very familiar with each other. Yi Daijin said without blushing. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Boss Wang was so frightened that he gasped, then he fell to his knees, crawled to Yi Daijin on his knees, and said with a smile, "Brother, it's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. It was Wu Shigang's mother who called me and asked me to come. I am also a victim. You took off your clothes and ripped them like this, and you still call yourself a victim." Seeing Yi Daijin pointing at her, my Fankao instinctively shrank her shoulders. I'm sorry. I was impulsive. I'm not a human being. Is it okay if I'm not a human being? Boss Wang slapped himself and cried. The pain is secondary, the main thing is the grievance. What do you call this? If you don't want to use me, why are you looking for me? I've taken off my pants, and you're doing this to me. Wrong. He seemed to have thought of something and suddenly stopped. Damn, they made such a big fuss, they don't just want to have a baby, they are clearly here to collect debts. Don't worry, I owed your family 12,000 yuan last year, and I'll give it to you now. As he said that, he crawled to the chair, opened his bag and tremblingly took out 2 stacks of cash. 12,000 is to pay the debt, and the rest is for apology. Please rest assured that I won't owe you a penny if I receive the goods again this year. Yi Daijin. He instinctively looked at my Fankao and suddenly felt like he was being used as a gun. But my Fankao looked puzzled, and didn't seem to be pretending. Ahem. Yi Daijin cleared his throat. You said this, but words are not enough. I have to record it for you. As he said that, he turned on the video on his phone and directly pointed it at the other person's face. Repeat what you just said. Boss Wang just felt his teeth hurt even more. If I tell it, it will leave a handle. If I don't tell it, the matter will definitely get out of hand, and then my cousin will definitely not be able to protect himself. If it really gets back to my family, I will be the one who suffers the most. Damn, there is no solution, it's a dead end. Boss Wang gritted his teeth and finally chose the one with the lowest cost. He raised a hand weakly. I promise that I won't be shortchanged on fruit this year. It's not enough, and you can't take revenge on Wu Shixiang's family for this. Yi Daijin said. Also, you have to explain why you are here and what bad things you did just now. Although he went to the police station in a cowardly manner, Yi Daijin also understood a truth. Without evidence, it's all nonsense. If the identity information retrieved in the end did not show suspicion of being fake, people would have thought that he had a brain injury and was not fully recovered. Try again and try to pass it once more. Boss Wang. But now he has been forced into doing this and has no choice. I had no choice but to explain my crimes and make a promise. Brother, we are all here for the sake of appearances. I did what you said. If this gets out, I will be too ashamed to face anyone. You're scared now, what were you doing before? Yi Daijin snorted disdainfully. Boss Wang felt miserable, but he couldn't express it. Yi Daijin waved his hands, fearing that he would be doomed to fail. Go now, remember what you said. After all, I have nothing to lose at the moment, and I am still using someone else's reputation as a lie. This rumor will be exposed once it is exposed, so I should stop while I am ahead. Okay. Boss Wang quickly put on his pants, picked up his bag and shirt, and ran out stumblingly. Okay, take the money and go back early. Yi Daijin stood up and was about to leave, not wanting to get involved in such messy matters anymore. Who would have thought that my Fankao would hug his waist from behind? Big root, I want your seed. Summer clothes are thin to begin with, and feeling the two hot snowballs sticking to his back, Yi Daijin was completely stunned. However, this was not the end yet. My Fankao walked directly in front of him, her face already blushing brightly. Then, facing Yi Daijin's surprised look, he slowly squatted down holding his arm. Chapter 21 Clash of Cultures. Is it so sudden? Yi Daijin looked as if he had been electrocuted and lowered his head in shock. My Fangsao's collar had been torn by Boss Wang a long time ago, and there was already a heart-shaped hole in the middle, which now had a larger space. The two snowballs are half exposed each, and admiring them from top to bottom, one can still feel the bottomless horror. It is not very white, it can only be said to be medium white, but it appears extremely delicate and smooth, giving people a healthy and natural beauty. She raised her head, and because she had been crying, her big eyes flickered with a hint of intoxication. Passionate and a bit wild. Coupled with that exotic face, Yi Daijin felt that he was about to lose control. In my Fangsao's eyes, Yi Daijin is tall and handsome, much better than Boss Wang just now, and he can also stand up bravely for himself. He is not comparable to Wu Shigang, a man who only listens to his mother. The most important point. He is a college student, so his IQ must be high. It doesn't matter who you give birth to. After realizing this, she couldn't help herself and pulled down, and the clothes with holes all over them slid down to her waist. At the same time, the trembling Yukiko is perfectly presented. Yi Daijin's pupils shrank and his breathing instinctively became rapid. Is this an attempt at in-depth communication or a verbal sparring? At this moment, my Fangsao's impatient little hand had already reached out. Yi Daijin quickly bent his waist and avoided the opponent's hand. What the hell am I thinking? It's okay to satisfy your visual addiction, but other addictions really can't be satisfied. This is Wu Shigang's wife, a married woman. If you have nothing else, you can go back first. I still have things to do. After saying that, Yi Daijin ran away. My Fankao squatted there in a daze, and for a moment she was stunned. Run away. Why is he running? Doesn't he like doing that kind of thing? My Fankao stood up, her face burning hot when she thought of the grab just now. It's not that he doesn't want to, it's probably because he is more decent. No, it should be the moral concept they are talking about here. He is the adopted son of the Wu family, and we are family. For some reason, after realizing this, my Fankao, who had not received the 9-year compulsory education, felt very depressed. After all, over there, it is normal for men to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. For example, her father not only has rice noodles, and noodles, a total of 4 wives. And she was the smallest noodle. So when her mother-in-law's husband asked her to accompany another man, she did not object. The reason why she finally asked Yi Daejin for help was because Boss Wang was too ugly. This may be a cultural difference. Damn it, why wasn't he the one who brought me back to cook rice? Since I have to give birth to a child anyway, why not tell my mother-in-law and ask her to tell Yi Daejin that I want to have a child with him? Yes, he has moral values and will definitely listen to his elders. Besides, he has been to college and is smarter than Boss Wang. When my Fangsao's eyes were shining, Yi Daejin was breathing in the fresh air outside in big gulps. Thinking about the scene just now makes me feel scared. Fortunately, I didn't act rashly and did nothing. If the people in Old Wu's family knew about it, it would definitely have reached my sister-in-law's ears. Naturally, he would not give up Song Hanxiang because of such a woman. He hailed a car and soon arrived at Shengjitang Pharmacy, the largest pharmacy in the county. Although the Baoshilingji can be used to refine some medicines that enhance cultivation. But other auxiliary materials are also not cheap, and he simply cannot afford them under his current conditions. Instead of wasting money, it would be better to sell it directly and get some money to improve his and Song Hanxiang's lives first. Because they had worked together frequently before, Yi Daejin was very familiar with Shengjitang. He was lucky because as soon as he walked to the back, he saw Du Bin, the business manager who was mainly responsible for wholesale. At this moment, he was holding a list, leaning over the counter and tapping on the calculator, and he didn't notice anyone coming at all. "Manager Du, are you busy?" Yi Daejin put his bag on the cabinet and asked with a smile. Du Bin was stunned for a moment. Manager Du. He hasn't heard this title for more than a year since he was promoted to deputy store manager. Moreover, he believed that it would not be long before the deputy position would be removed, because everything here would become dowry and become his, Du Bin's, private property. However, when he looked up, he opened his mouth in surprise. "Yi Daejin. Why are you here instead of at home with your wife? Get out of here now, or I'll have someone kick you out." Yi Daejin looked stunned, obviously not expecting the other party to change his attitude so quickly. "Haven't you offended him before? Could it be that he likes Lin Nan? Otherwise, why would you be so jealous? His family's ancestral grave must be filled with smoke, as I helped him to avoid a disaster. You don't understand what I'm saying, right?" Seeing that he didn't say anything, Du Bin slammed the table. Although his boss Chen Shi agreed to his proposal, he knew very well that Chen Shi still liked Yi Daejin, her savior. "I was just taking advantage of the opportunity. Now that good things are about to happen, he doesn't want anything else to happen. I'm divorced." Yi Daejin laughed at himself. "I was wrong, she was actually wearing a mask the whole time." After getting to know each other for a while, he felt that he should give Du Bin some good advice. Let him know that there are actually many good women, but Lin Nan is not one of them. Under that pure and kind appearance, there is a black heart like a poisonous scorpion. We have all misjudged her. It can be seen that Du Bin is so sensitive, and for fear of irritating him, he could only mention it vaguely. However, as soon as these words came out, the anger on Du Bin's face became even stronger. "Are you trying to make a pun with me? Oh, now that you're divorced, you think of Chen Shi, right? Who doesn't know that Chen Shi, the eldest daughter of Shengjitang, who was once the most beautiful lady in Lichun, suffered extensive burns all over her body due to a car accident. Until now, she can only hide in the small town of Hua County, wearing a mask all day long and dare not see anyone. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had a chance." Du Bin's face turned pale, and his hand trembled as he pointed at him. "You are not welcome here. You, leave here right now, get out." Yi Daejin stared at the other person blankly. How much does he love Lin Nan? Why didn't I see it before? If we had seen this earlier and helped them, would all these things that happened later have not happened? Yi Daejin felt secretly bitter, but if this incident had not happened, he would not have known that he had such a wonderful woman in his family. "You misunderstood. I'm not here to show off to you." Yi Daejin opened the bag casually and took out the Ganoderma lucidum. Du Bin wanted to curse. Chen Shi has always disliked seeing outsiders, except for Yi Daejin, whom he always calls over. After he got into trouble, he even stayed at home for his sake. Isn't this showing off? What does that mean? But when he saw what was on the table, Dubin swallowed back the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Holding the stone Lingji. Chapter 22. I protected you from disaster, and you repay me with evil, right? Seeing his eyes glowing green and he was terrified, Yi Daijin said with a smile, as expected of an expert, it's less than 100 years but it's almost the same. Dubin turned his eyes away from the boulder-shaped Ganoderma lucidum and asked with a vigilant look, what do you mean by taking this thing out? Sell it for money. Yi Daijin said. Dubin twitched the corner of his mouth and said, oh, you can't live anymore. He felt relieved as long as he knew that no one was taking the opportunity to criticize him. His eyes rolled and he asked, what's your condition now? Where are you seeing patients? Why should I still sit in the clinic? I've lost everything now because of people's cheating. I'm going back to my hometown. Yi Daijin said self-deprecatingly. Oh, I see. Dubin smiled. I won't tell you the rules. You know, this kind of medicinal material is priceless. I have to go back and find a master to take a look. Okay. Yi Daijin said indifferently, hurry up, I still have to catch the last bus back. Good. Dubin twitched the corner of his mouth obscurely, put the boulder-shaped Ganoderma lucidum into his bag and walked towards the back. A person who is remarried and has nothing is not worthy of being his opponent, let alone owning a priceless treasure. Mine, all mine. Yi Daijin tapped the table lightly, wondering whether he should approach Chen Shi, who was probably his best friend. This happened by coincidence. As we all know, in today's world, without connections and money, especially for a child from the rural area, no matter how solid the foundation or how good the grades are, it is difficult to find a good job, and it is even more difficult to get into a hospital. So after graduation, Yi Daijin worked in a clinic in the county to gain experience. It was past 11 o'clock that evening when his boss called him to go out for a patient consultation. On his way back, he happened to see a car accident. A young man who has just entered the society is very impulsive. And he is a doctor, how can he stand by and watch someone die? Unfortunately, it was still too late. Because the fire had already started, although the people were rescued in the end, Chenshi was left with large areas of burns on his face and body. Even now he can't straighten his arms and has to rely on a wheelchair to walk. It can be said that everything she was proud of was destroyed in the fire. At the beginning, Chenshi always wanted to commit suicide. Later, the Chen family decided to give it a try and asked him to enlighten Chen Shi as his savior. To be honest, this is not a job that can be done by one person. Think about it, she is such a proud young lady from a rich family, she would rather die than become like the ghost she is now. Yi Daijin saved her and made her live in pain. How could she be polite to Yi Daijin? But after a while, the two became friends who could talk about anything. In order to thank him, the Chen family gave him a thank you gift of 1 million. Otherwise, he would not have been able to have his own clinic so soon after graduation. And Chen Shi also helped him a lot. She helped him with various certificates, including the community-designated license, and at the beginning, the necessary medicinal materials. She is definitely a noble person in Yi Daijin's life. So Yi Daijin was very conflicted. He decided to meet her, but he was afraid that with his current abilities, he wouldn't be able to cure her injuries in a short time, and it would only cause her more trouble. No, to be honest, I really want to talk to her, because I also have a lot of pain and I want to find someone to talk to, and she is my best friend and the best person to talk to. Lulu, you should consider Song Junjie from the basketball team. He's tall, handsome, and good at studying. That's right. This month, I've been asked to hand you 15 love letters, one a day, without missing a day. I'm moved by your love for me. Go away, you're stealing my men, are you still a human being? No, I don't like him. If Xiaowen likes him, I will tell him tomorrow and ask him to pursue you. Really? Oh, Lulu, you are really my good sister. Let's go to the bar tonight, it's my treat. No, I have to go home to be with my sister in the evening. As they were talking, 3 sweet-looking girls in JK school uniforms passed by the counter holding books. Suddenly, the girl in front stopped and took 2 steps back. She had her hair tied in 2 high ponytails, her fair skin was as smooth as a baby's, and her slightly chubby face was full of shock. Yi Daijin smiled and waved his hand. Chenlu, long time no see. Brother Yi. Oh my god, it's really you, Brother Yi. Chenlu was a little surprised, and so were the other 2 girls. Brother Yi, is it really you, alive? Didn't you get into a car accident and become a vegetable? Can I pinch your face? As she spoke, the girl named Xiaowen bravely walked forward and raised her hand to pinch Yi Daejin's face. Yi Daejin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. These little sisters are still as cute as ever. Seeing this, Chenlu immediately pulled Xiaowen back in dissatisfaction, and said angrily, "Why don't you pinch yourself? She has just recovered, what if you hurt yourself?" "I didn't use any force, I was just trying to see if it was true." Xiaowen felt a little aggrieved. "Okay Chenlu, Xiaowen is also worried about me and wants to confirm." For some reason, Yi Daejin's depressed mood suddenly improved when he saw these three little girls who had just entered junior high school. "Brother Yi, does my sister know that you have recovered?" Chenlu asked curiously. "I don't know yet. I just came here to do some work and will go to her house to see her later." "That's great. My sister no longer comes to the store and doesn't like to talk to people. When you go there, you must persuade her." "Okay, then I'll tell her about your relationship later," Yi Daejin said with a smile. Hearing this, Chenlu angrily slammed the table. "How can you be like this? Who is dating? It's that licking dog who has been chasing me, okay? That's right. We can prove this to Lulu. Brother Yi, we are good friends. If you do something to betray your best friend, you would be a real bastard." Another girl also echoed. "That's right, and I don't like licking dogs at all." Yi Daejin was at a loss whether to laugh or cry, and did not notice at all that at the intersection of the corridor, Dubin's face was already covered with a layer of cloud. This disaster really came with ill intentions. As soon as he arrived, he tricked his future sister-in-law away. No. We must not let him succeed. Thinking of this, Dubin glanced at the bag in his hand, then took a deep breath and walked over with a smile. "Dr. Yi, sorry for the long wait." "Hey, Lulu, you guys are back too. Don't scream so disgustingly. I don't like dogs licking my boots." Chenlu ignored him and turned her head away. Although she was young, she saw some things clearly. All the boys in school like pretty girls, but Dubin, who looks like a decent man, just tries every means to pursue her half-human, half-ghost sister. Is that normal? Dubin was not angry, he just laughed and put the bag on the counter. "Dr. Yi, I'm really sorry, I asked my master to look at the things, they are not worth much. Of course, considering our friendship over the years, I will give you 10,000. Yi Daejin glanced at the bag and found that it had lost all its spiritual charm. He knew what was going on. "That is too much. I help you ward off disaster, and you actually want to steal my stuff? What is it?" Chenlu asked curiously. "Just some worthless wild herbs." Dubin had already opened the bag while speaking. Sure enough, there were a lot of messy herbs inside, some of which were covered in dirt. Chenlu's family is in the medicinal materials business, and she knew a little about it since she was a child. She quickly calculated the prices of these things. $200 at most. 10,000 yuan is indeed a lot. "Dubin, do we have a grudge against each other?" Yi Daejin suddenly laughed. Chapter 23. The blisters on my feet are all caused by myself. Dubin raised his eyebrows. "Yi Daejin, what do you mean? Is it worth it for a woman?" Yi Daejin slammed the table with a bang. Even so, he wasn't angry at all. Since he couldn't get what he wanted, he could only use this method to retaliate against himself and vent his dissatisfaction. To be honest, Yi Daejin felt that he was really pitiful. So at this moment, the wooden fish of merit above his head was beating wildly. If for no other reason, just because he is Chen Shi's employee, it's time to wake him up. However, Dubin smiled. With a playful sneer on his face, his wolfish ambition has finally been exposed, right? Whether it's worth it or not is my business. It's not your turn to interfere. After hearing this, Yi Daejin was completely speechless. He felt that he had done his best, because there are some people you can't wake up. Okay, as long as you're happy. Anyway, I still say the same thing, that woman is not worthy of your love at all. Wait, Brother Yi, are you saying that Dubin likes other women? Chenlu's face turned dark on the spot. Don't underestimate her because she is small. She is very smart. She had always felt that Dubin's motives for pursuing her sister were impure. Now from what Yi Daejin said, it is clear that he is still entangled with another woman. Yi Daejin looked at the other party suspiciously. What do you mean by return? That is. Before Chenlu could finish her words, Dubin panicked and roared in anger, "Yi Daejin, stop trying to sow discord here. Lulu, you should believe me. Grab the bamboo shoots. Grab the bamboo shoots. I just swapped your herbs. I'm not a human being, but you used such despicable means. You're a real dog. Dubin, shut up." Chenlu raised her hand and pointed at him angrily, and then pointed at Yi Daejin. "Brother Yi, tell me, is this bastard cheating on my sister and having an affair with another woman?" "I didn't, I really didn't." Dubin tried to explain and was so anxious that he broke out in a cold sweat. But as the old saying goes, once suspicion arises, the crime is established. Chenlu didn't even believe his punctuation marks, and pointed her finger again, not giving him any face at all. "I told you to shut up." Yi Daejin was also stunned. "You mean, your sister and him? After the beating that happened to you, he always found excuses to get close to my sister. My sister was really fed up with it, so she made him the deputy store manager, hoping that he would do more real work. But this guy actually proposed to my sister a few days ago. But my sister directly refused," Chenlu said disdainfully. After these words were spoken, Yi Daejin was completely embarrassed. Damn, this is a misunderstanding. No wonder his words made him so emotional. No wonder he disliked me from the moment I arrived. Although Dubin is a bit snobbish, considering she has become what she is now, he can still pursue her boldly. Based on this point alone, Yi Daejin respects him as a man. He was just about to explain and say a few good words for Dubin. However, Dubin angrily scolded, "Lulu, don't listen to his nonsense. Yi Daejin, I look down on you. You are divorced and have nothing, so you come to find Chen Shi. What is your intention? If you really like her, why did you do it earlier?" Hearing this, Yi Daejin's brows twisted into knots. "I misunderstood you before. I apologize. I thought you liked Lin Nan." Before Yi Daejin could finish, Dubin was already jumping up in anger. "Are you being mean? Why would I like your wife? I was wrong, isn't it okay for me to say sorry?" Yi Daejin sighed, "You like Chen Shi and I support you. So, if you return my Baoshilingji, I will help you put in a good word in front of Chen Shi later. There's nothing I can do about it. The blisters on my feet are all caused by myself." However, once these words were spoken, it was clearly like stabbing a knife in Dubin's chest. "Who do you think you are? Do I need you to say something nice to me? I don't need it, and I don't know what the stone Ganoderma is. Hurry up and take your things and leave. If you want to do it for Chen Shi's sake, don't go see her again." Yi Daejin stared at the other person. "Are you planning to keep it for yourself? I don't know what you are talking about." Dubin simply turned his head away. When it was taken away, it contained priceless Ganoderma lucidum, but when it came back, it was just some ordinary herbs. "You said you didn't know." Yi Daejin's eyes had turned cold. It is understandable that love turns into hate. After all, we are all human beings, and as human beings, we have 7 emotions and 6 desires. But now that we have said it all, if you still embezzle other people's things, then there is something wrong with your character. Chen Shi has been miserable enough, and as a friend, I naturally don't want her to be hurt by such a man again. Yi Daejin, you can't afford to live, right? If you can't afford to live, tell me. Considering that you saved Chen Shi's life, if 10,000 is not enough, I will give you 20,000. If that doesn't work, I will give you 50,000. But you can't just talk. You still want to frame me and blackmail me. Do you believe that I will call the police now and I will arrest you in a minute?" After saying that, Dubin seemed to be still unsatisfied and looked at Chenlu. "Lulu, don't you understand who he is? He divorced as soon as he woke up and dumped the woman who had taken care of him for a year. Such a man is worse than pigs and dogs. I had good intentions and wanted to give him some money because he saved your sister's life. But he brought me a bunch of rotten herbs and insisted on calling them Ganoderma lucidum. This is taking advantage of us. You are so smart, you will not be deceived by him, right? Brother Yi, this isn't the case, right?" Chenlu clenched his fists tightly and looked at Yi Daejin with some pain. "Of course not." Yi Daejin took a deep breath and said, "Dubin, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Now that it has come to this, I have nothing more to say. Let us check the surveillance video. Everything will be clear at a glance." Dubin sneered secretly. If he dared to embezzle the money, he must have made sufficient preparations. Unfortunately, the surveillance camera broke down yesterday. I called the maintenance personnel, but they haven't arrived yet. Why did it break down now, if not earlier or later? Chenlu frowned. Isn't this too coincidental? It's really such a coincidence. If you don't believe me, you can ask anyone. Du Bin shrugged. Chenlu didn't believe it, so she turned around and prepared to ask someone, but Yi Daijin suddenly stopped her. No need. Since the other party is so confident, they must have made sufficient preparations. Chenlu clenched her fists tightly. Brother Yi, I want to prove that you are not that kind of person. People's hearts are hidden. Lulu, you are still young. You will understand some things in the future. Du Bin said. Yi Daijin laughed. Du Bin, there is nothing wrong with what you said. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Go away. You are not welcome here. Du Bin snorted coldly, obviously a little impatient. Don't worry, since you just said that the Boshi Ganoderma is priceless, I guess your store doesn't have it in stock, right? That's natural. What if I find you? Yi Daijin asked. We still have business to do and don't have time to deal with you, said Du Bin. How about giving me 5 minutes? Don't worry, I will definitely not delay your business. Yi Daijin said. Chapter 24 Chenlu, is this the legendary period? Du Bin's heart tightened. Are you so confident? For some reason, when he saw Yi Daijin's confident look, he felt a little worried. Subconsciously, she wanted to refuse, but Chenlu said at this moment, I agree. Lulu, how could you let him make such a fuss? Du Bin was furious. As the old saying goes, half of a sister-in-law's but belongs to her brother-in-law. The sight of Chen Shi's horrible look made him feel sick. Chenlu is still young, but she is born with a beauty, a high nose bridge, deep eyes, and outstanding looks. By the time she grew up, I would have already taken over the Chen family's assets. How could I let go of such a beautiful sister-in-law? So subconsciously, he had already regarded Chenlu as his woman. Seeing that she is so biased towards Yi Daijin, it would be strange if he could not get angry. Are you hiding something from yourself? Chenlu said disdainfully. Of course I'm not hiding anything. Since you've agreed, don't let it be said that we're bullying customers. Du Bin gritted his teeth secretly and stared at Yi Daijin with a bad face. 5 minutes is not enough. I'll give you 10 minutes. With Chenlu's support, he naturally couldn't stop her. Since insisting would easily arouse suspicion, it would be better to let him look for it openly since he wouldn't be able to find it anyway. Yi Daijin smiled and said, No, just 5 minutes, come with me. After saying that, he had already walked to the back. Do you think Brother Yi is really that kind of person? We are good friends. You have to believe Brother Yi no matter who you are. You two go back first. I'll come play with you later. Chenlu glanced at her two best friends and quickly followed them. Not long. The three of them came to the door of Du Bin's office. Du Bin smiled coldly. You scared me just now. I thought you were very capable. This is my office. Do you think I hid something in my office? Yi Daijin gave him a joking look, then suddenly turned and came to the door of another room, opened this room. The reason why he was able to discover this stone-hugging Ganoderma lucidum was because he could see the aura that others could not see. Hiding things in front of him, what's the difference between that and the Emperor's new clothes? Upon hearing this, a thin layer of sweat broke out on Du Bin's forehead. How did he know that the thing was hidden in this room? Could it be that he had just been secretly following me? What's wrong with you? Open the door. Chenlu shouted in a tender voice, with an extraordinary aura. Du Bin's face twitched, and he quickly took out the key and opened the door. This is the reference room, which contains all kinds of medical records. Don't mess around. Don't worry, I found it. As he spoke, Yi Daijin walked directly to the corner, gently pushed open the filing cabinet, and then easily lifted the tiles underneath. Chenlu walked forward quickly, saw what was inside, and immediately took it out. Come on, tell me, what is this? At that moment, Du Bin's face completely lost its color. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The excellent treasure trove that I had searched for with great difficulty was found so easily by him? It's obvious who is lying. Yi Daijin said lightly. Lulu, I didn't know there was something hidden here. Du Bin gritted his teeth. After all, a dead pig is not afraid of boiling water. It's him. He must have known that there is a stone holding Ganoderma lucidum hidden here. I understand. He wants to make a feint to the east and attack the west. His real purpose is to get this stone holding Ganoderma lucidum. You must not be fooled by him. The evidence is conclusive, and you're still trying to argue. Chenlu was stunned. How can this be called quibbling? He used to come to the store all the time, and he has a very good relationship with your sister. It is reasonable for him to know something that we don't. You? Okay, Lulu, there's no point in telling him this. There are fingerprints on it anyway. If nothing works, we can call the police. I happen to know Director Mar. He will definitely be very interested in a case involving a huge amount of money. Hearing this, Dubin felt his head buzzing. What the hell? Are you trying to force people to death? Poison. This grandson is so vicious. Okay, I admit it, I admit that I hit it, but so what? Lulu, think about your sister's current situation. Who is responsible for it? It's him, it's Idajan. Dubin argued speciously. Shut up. I'll tell my sister about this. Dubin, I knew you had ulterior motives in approaching my sister, but I didn't expect you to be so despicable. Lulu is right. Idajan gently placed his hand on Dubin's shoulder. Dubin, a friend in need is a friend indeed. You like Chen Shi, and I'm happy for her, really. Dubin stared at Idajan in a daze. This money must have been spent badly. Are you happy? Why do I trust you so much? Sure enough, Idajan continued, but your method is really despicable. People like you are not worthy of Chen Shi at all. Lulu, that's not what he said. I am sincere to your sister. It's Idajan who has evil intentions. Get out of here. Chenlu was so angry that she was confused. From now on, you will be handed over to me. I will slowly investigate your affairs. It's best not to find out anything else. Otherwise, you will be sentenced to life in prison. Okay, Idajan, we're not done yet. The situation was going well, but because of Idajan's sudden appearance, everything went to pieces. Dubin was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He was probably afraid that if he didn't leave now he would not be able to leave, so he left after saying something harsh. Brother Yi, I know you're not that kind of person. If you're short of money, just tell me. Why are you selling such precious medicinal herbs? Your family has helped me enough. Besides, how much money can a little girl like you who is still in school have? Idajan was very touched. If you really want to help me, find someone who can take care of things and take the things away. Chenlu sighed, since you have made up your mind to take action, I will take you to find Uncle Song. Can? Idajan nodded. As they were talking, the two were about to walk out. However, Chenlu suddenly covered her stomach and bent over with a look of pain on her face. What's wrong with you? Idajan was shocked. It must be because Dubin got mad at him. You are so angry. Idajan was just about to make a joke to the other party, but the next second, he couldn't laugh anymore. Bright red blood flowed down her legs and quickly dyed the white socks on her feet red. The moment she saw the blood, Chenlu's face turned pale. Is this the legendary period? Idajan. Is this your first time here? What else? Brother Yi, you are a doctor, what should I do now? Chenlu covered her skirt tightly, and was so anxious that tears were about to come out. Idajan's face twitched, wait here for a while. Having said that, he turned and ran out. Not long after, he came back with a big bag of daily and night supplies. Take this, I'm going to go out first, you put it on yourself. How do I pat it? Chenlu was completely confused. I've never done that before. Idajan took a deep breath. Forget it, I'll just play the role of her mother for once. He took out a pack and directly opened a piece and handed it to the other person, then took a piece in his own hand. Learn from me, tear off the plastic paper on both sides first. Chenlu nodded and followed suit, and then. What then, get it on? Just put it on. That would get all their hair off. Chapter 25 Chen Shi, long time no see. Children should not be restrained in their words. Children should not be restrained in their words. Although he kept trying to persuade himself, his blood pressure still rose unconsciously. You little tiger girl, where are you sticking to? Stick to my pants. Oh, what are you yelling about? I got it. As she spoke, Chenlu lifted her skirt, took off her blood-stained white panties, and began to gesture. Idajan quickly turned around and walked out of the house. I'll wait for you outside. Not long after, Chenlu walked out with small steps. She pouted and muttered, being a woman is so troublesome. Let's go. I'll take a shower and change clothes first, and then we'll go find my sister. After saying that, she took the first step and walked forward. Seeing her walking with her legs crossed, Yi Daijin laughed, that's just the beginning. Women are a little troublesome, but every woman is great, right? Just get used to it. Yeah. Chenlu nodded, and suddenly raised her head with curiosity, blinking her eyes. We women have periods, so do you men also have uncles? Oh. No. Then why do the boys in our school always complain about pain in the balls? What's going on? It was really hard for Yi Daijin to ask such an innocent topic. He hesitated for a long time before saying, this is a very complicated question. It could be a catchphrase, or it could be caused by external force, or it could be varicocele. That. Before she could finish, Yi Daijin interrupted her and said, go take a shower and talk to your sister later. Where is Uncle Song? I'll go find him now and we'll meet at the door later. It's a good thing to ask questions without feeling ashamed, but the questions this girl asked were all very nasty and dangerous, and they were not something he should explain at all. Okay then, I'll call Uncle Song, and you just go and wait there. Yi Daijin had just sat down when Uncle Song came over in a hurry. Xiao Yi, long time no see. Lulu told me that you have a Ganoderma lucidum. Yes, the things are here, please take a look. Yi Daijin opened the bag with a smile and took out the things. Seeing this, Songbo immediately leaned over to the table excitedly, looked at it carefully, and turned to look at Yi Daijin. Are you really going to make a move? I have never seen such a big rock-hugging Ganoderma lucidum in my life, you better think it over carefully. Let's pay it off. We're short of money now. Yi Daijin nodded. He now fully understands how a penny can make a hero fall, and he doesn't want to spend his sister-in-law's money anymore. For the sake of the two young ladies, I won't play tricks on you. I'll give you 1 million. Okay, but you have to give me 100,000 or 80,000 in cash. Don't mention hundreds or hundreds of thousands. We have cash here too. Uncle Song laughed. The two quickly completed the transaction, and the remaining 900,000 was directly transferred to Song Hanxiang's Axin card. The second young lady has already told me about Xiaodu's matter. I hope you don't take it to heart. Uncle Song said apologetically. Don't worry, it won't happen, but it's better to see the other person's true face now than later, right? Apk. What you said makes sense. Songbo nodded with a smile. By the way, why are you alone? Why isn't your wife Lin Nan with you? She is a kind and good girl, and she treats you very well. I knew she had deceived you too. What do you mean, even we were deceived? Uncle Song looked stunned. Take a look for yourself. Yi Daijin took out the receipt letter from the police from his pocket. Did she beat you into a vegetable? My God, she actually used a fake identity and married you just to transfer property. I'm an old man who has lived to such an old age, and this time I've really opened my eyes. Xiao Yi, think carefully, have you offended anyone before? Except for the occasional home visit, I basically stay in the clinic every day. How could I offend anyone? At most, I'll come and chat with Chenshi when I have time. Yi Daijin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If you ask me, I'm just blind. No, think about it again, what about when you were in school? Songbo shook his head and suddenly became serious. Yi Daijin was shocked. Uncle Song, you didn't see anything, did you? Songbo asked back, if you were to do all this, could you do it as flawlessly as she did and hide it from everyone? Just find someone. There's nothing that can't be done with money. Yi Daijin said helplessly. Songbo gently placed his hand on Yi Daijin's shoulder. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Anyway, it's all in the past. Let's live a good life from now on. What are you two secretly plotting? Just then, Chenlu, who looked refreshed, walked over quickly. Silly girl, what can we plot? Take Xiao Yi to see the eldest lady quickly so that she won't worry anymore. As he said that, he handed the receipt directly to Yi Daijin. You still say there is no conspiracy. I want to see what this is, what? Chenlu was quick and snatched it away. She just flipped through the contents and immediately shut her mouth. Yi Daijin's face flushed red, and he snatched it away when she wasn't paying attention. Uncle Song, let's go first. We'll talk again when we have time. At the door, a nanny car had been waiting for a long time. The tall and somewhat silly bodyguard opened the car door and looked warily at the man who came out with his young lady. Miss, please get in the car. This is the bodyguard arranged by my father. His name is Adong. He's a little dull, but he listens to me in everything. Chenlu introduced him proudly. Hello. Yi Daijin nodded. It could be seen that he was a sincere man, a little too sincere. But being responsible for Chenlu's safety was indeed a good thing. Adong just nodded and closed the door after the two got in the car. Adong, this is my brother Yi, please be polite next time. Got it, miss, where are we going? Go home and find my eldest sister. Good. The car started slowly. Chenlu held her stomach and wanted to laugh at him, but she was too embarrassed to laugh out loud. Seeing this, Yi Daijin thought her stomach was aching again, and said, I have a way to relieve it. Chenlu was stunned for a moment. Before she could come to her senses, Yi Daijin's hand was already on her belly. Then, I felt as if a warm current was sweeping through my entire body. She was sure that she had never experienced such a comfortable feeling in her life. Her stomach had been feeling a little uncomfortable, but now she couldn't feel it anymore. Yi Daijin took his hand back and asked, Are you feeling better? Yeah, much better. Chenlu's cheeks blushed and she quickly turned her head to the window. Damn it, Chenlu, brother Yi cares about you so much, and he is also a victim, how can you laugh at him? The more Chenlu thought about it, the more guilty she felt. Yi Daijin thought the girl was shy, but then he thought that she was already in the second grade of junior high school this year, so how could he still treat her like a child? The car sped all the way and soon drove into a villa. As soon as they got off the car, Chenlu couldn't wait to pull Yi Daijin up to the second floor. Sister, look who's here. Who else could be so reckless except you, a troublemaker? With a hoarse voice, an electric wheelchair drove to the stairs. Chapter 26 I don't want to be your brother, I want to be your wife. Shi was completely stunned. She thought she would never see him again in this life. It will never be possible to have another true friend as close to me as Yi Daijin in this life. Because of this injury, she saw many realities clearly. The suitors whom she once didn't even bother to look at now regarded her as a monster. Her former best friends kept their distance from her. Although her relatives didn't say anything to her face, they often cursed her behind her back, saying that she was neither human nor ghost, and it would be better for her to just die. Only Yi Daijin was not selfish. He saved her from the fire regardless of the danger. He did not dislike her, but also made her happy and treated her as a good friend. He came and I was very happy. If he leaves, I will feel lost. At first, she just felt that she had too few true friends, and she never had any improper thoughts. After all, she was not worthy of others in her current state. But when she heard that he had become a vegetable, her heart ached, but she was also very happy because he could finally be with her forever. Even if it's just lying there motionless. Unfortunately, this happiness did not last long and he got married. It turned out that there was a woman who treated him so well. He felt sad, but more importantly, he was happy for him. Shi. What's wrong with you? Yi Daijin looked puzzled. Why are you in a daze? Don't you want to see me? No. I was just too surprised. Shi pursed his lips, his wrinkled face looked really scary. But Yi Daijin knew that she was laughing. I thought you didn't want me to come. As he spoke, he had already walked behind the other person and pushed the wheelchair towards the living room. Sister, you guys chat, I'll go tell the kitchen to make something delicious. Okay, cook a few more dishes. He likes the pork with preserved vegetables cooked in preserved vegetables made by Chen Mar. Shi instructed, and then looked up at Yi Daijin. Why are you here? I miss you. Don't say such jokes in the future. Although I look scary now, what if your Lin Nan is jealous? If he comes to me again to cause trouble, I can't stand it. By the way, why are you alone? Where's Lin Nan? Call her over quickly. I have to thank her for taking such good care of my friend. We were all deceived by her. Yi Daijin sighed and told her what happened. After listening to this, Shi fell silent. I know this is ridiculous, but laugh if you want to. I was a joke before. Shi shook his head. Da Jenna, do you really think she did all this for your property? People go through so much trouble to open up all the links, and the risks and investments they take are not proportional to what they get. Is it possible? What else? If I see something like that, I might as well go all the way. After saying that, Yi Daijin couldn't help but frowned. Chen Shi, do you also think there's something wrong? Anyone else thinks there's a problem? Uncle Song, I went to the store today, and Uncle Song said something similar to you. Maybe we are overthinking it. Chen Shi smiled. Has she come to see you before? Yi Daijin asked. Yes, he told me that I knew you had a car accident. But you were in the intensive care unit at the time. It's my fault. I was very busy during that time. I forgot about it later. When I went to see you again, you had already been discharged. Well, I treat you as a friend, but you don't care about my life or death. If you cared about me a little more, maybe I wouldn't have been cheated out of my entire fortune by that woman. No, I actually. Chen Shi felt aggrieved and anxiously wanted to explain himself. It wasn't that he was busy, but that he was too concerned. She was in a bad mood during that time. She wanted to go but was afraid to go because she was afraid of hearing bad news. Besides, what was the point of saying it now? Unfortunately, before she could explain, Yi Daijin laughed and said, "Okay, you took it seriously just because I was joking. By the way, you didn't lend her the money, did you?" Aye. Chen Shi was embarrassed on the spot. If he said this out loud, wouldn't Yi Daijin be so angry that he would die? Did you really borrow it? No. You can fool others but you can't fool me. Tell me the truth and provide me with some clues so I can tell the police. Yi Daijin felt his head buzzing. It wasn't much actually. She came to me and said she needed money, so I transferred 2 million to her. 2 million isn't enough. Upon hearing this, Yi Daijin stood up from the sofa and asked, "Are you stupid and rich? I just said I didn't care about you, but now I do. Is that wrong?" Chen Shi's eyes turned red when he heard that. Yi Daijin scratched his hair vigorously. Are there any more transfer records? Yes, but it's useless. I transferred the money directly to your card. Chen Shi stared at Yi Daijin aggrievedly. So I am your creditor now. You must correct your attitude towards creditors in the future. If you are mean to me again, I will demand the debt at any time. If you can't pay it back, I will make you work like a slave for me. Okay, you are the creditor, whatever you say is what counts. Yi Daijin sighed, but to be honest, it will take me some time to pay you back. Now I can only play rogue with you, you know. I'm stupid, I don't understand anything. I only know that the current creditor is very unhappy. From now on, you can't go anywhere. Just stay here and work for me like a slave. You can only leave when I am happy and let you go. Chen Shi insisted. She didn't know what she was thinking before, but over the past year or so she has become very clear about what she wants. Taking advantage of this opportunity, she didn't mind being willful and forcing Yi Daijin to stay by her side. Yi Daijin thought she was joking and curled his lips. You wish. As soon as these words came out, Chen Shi's heart felt as if it had been cut by a knife, and it hurt more than being burned by fire. Tears flowed unconsciously. You dislike me too, right? Oh, why are you crying? Yi Daijin was completely confused. You despise me, and you also think I'm a monster. Go away, I know I'm not worthy of you, and don't come here again. Chen Shi simply turned his head and closed his eyes. No. Yi Daijin raised his hand and forcibly turned the wheelchair around, and said with a smile, "Open your eyes and look at me. I treat you as a brother. Do you want me to be your husband?" Seeing that he was still smiling, Chen Shi felt both pain and chill in his heart. What is this, a mockery? I know I'm not worthy, but you don't have to humiliate me like this. Chen Shi's eyes widened fiercely. You think I'm ugly, but there are many people who want to marry me. I think you're sick again. Yi Daijin raised his hand to wipe away the tears from her eyes. Don't say those angry words. I promise that after you hear this good news, you won't want to get married in a hurry. I won't listen, you will only lie to me. Chen Shi turned his head to the side again. I can restore you to your original state, but you don't want to listen. No. Chen Shi was stunned for a moment, then turned around and asked in disbelief, What did you say? I can restore you to the way you were before the accident. Real. Yi Daijin poked her on the forehead hard and said, When have I ever lied to you? Although I don't know how beautiful you were before, I heard that you are the most beautiful woman in Lichen. I am afraid that when you recover your beauty, you will forget about me, your brother in distress. I don't want to be your brother. Anyway, I just made it very clear that I want to be your wife. Even if I can really recover as before, I will not change my mind. Don't draw such a big pie. If you really don't marry me, I will be so sad. If you don't believe me, let's go get the certificate now. This kind of talk is just for listening. Precisely because he studied medicine, he knew exactly what Chen Shi's mentality was now. When she returns as a king and regains her confidence, this mentality will be reversed. She will be afraid to think about the past and cut off all ties with the past. Even if she would always treat herself as a friend and not become a stranger, it would be impossible for her to be carefree and speak freely like she is now. After all, such examples abound, whether in medicine or psychology. But Yi Daijin also wanted to save face. Rather than being looked down upon in the future, he might as well make it clear in advance, to be honest, I have found my true love. She has been taking care of me for more than a year. I will marry her. Who is she? My sister-in-law. Your sister-in-law. Chen Shi was stunned. Don't get me wrong, she is my sister-in-law, but my brother-in-law is gone. Oh. So that's how it is. Chen Shi took a deep breath. He felt that Yi Daijin was repaying his kindness. If he can do it, why can't I? Okay, I agree, but I can only call her big sister. I don't want to call her sister-in-law. What do you mean? You like him, that's your business, I like you, that's mine. As long as big sister agrees, I can arrange it. Then we can go to Zhugang to register. Polygamy is allowed there. Oh my god, you don't have a fever, do you? Yi Daijin was completely numb. Is this even possible? Chapter 27 Helping Chen Shi treat his illness. I'm serious. Chen Shi raised his head with a burning gaze. Yi Daijin was stunned for a moment. But he soon came to his senses. Wow, that's pretty good. After not seeing you for a year, Chen Shi's skill in drawing big pictures has really improved. He almost drew himself in it. However, once I fall in front of a woman, I will never fall again. Anyway, as long as I don't eat it, no matter how delicious the poison cake you draw is, I can't get it into my mouth. Okay, let's talk about the future later. Yi Daijin supported the wheelchair and squatted in front of Chen Shi. I have two options for you to choose from. One is to cure your face today, and the other is to let you stand up today and take care of yourself. You choose. Chen Shi looked at Yi Daijin in disbelief. Are you reliable? Originally, when Yi Daijin said there was a way, I thought he had heard about some advanced surgery somewhere. Unexpectedly, he said today. Just trust me and make your choice quickly. Yi Daijin said confidently. Chen Shi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then let me take care of myself first. Although I care more about my face, maybe you will fall in love with me at first sight when you see me before the car accident. But I know you're not a cover guy, right? You are really wrong. I am actually very lustful. Let me tell you, I can't even walk when I see a pretty girl. It's a pity that you destroyed all the photos you took before. Otherwise, I would have hung a few of them on the headboard of my bed and looked at you, the most beautiful woman in Lichun, every day. Stop saying those disgusting things. Yi Daijin was too lazy to tease her anymore. Then let's get started. Here? Are you kidding? What else? Yi Daijin raised the corner of his mouth slightly, placed his hand directly on her burned elbow, and silently practiced the revival of dead wood. At first she suspected that Yi Daijin was teasing her. But then, he felt a warm current coming from Yi Daijin's hand, and he could even clearly feel that every cell near his elbow was cheering. However, this was not all. An even more bizarre scene immediately followed. The skin, which had turned horribly red and purple due to the burns, faded at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally turned into smooth and white skin. This, how is this possible? Nothing is impossible, don't move. Yi Daijin smiled and then used the same trick again. It only took about 10 minutes. The 4 vital joints that were unable to stretch have all returned to normal. The tender skin gleams with a charming luster like white porcelain, just like transparent curd, and the thin blue blood vessels under the skin are faintly visible. I now believe that you are the most beautiful woman in Lichun. You have a beautiful body and a skin as white as ice, but you are just like this. Yi Daijin praised sincerely, then sat down on the ground with his whole face as white as an eggplant hit by frost. It was obvious that he was extremely weak. After all, humans are the most complex creatures in the world. He only needs to consume a little spiritual energy to make the whole pond full of flowers. But using magic to forcibly treat people is equivalent to changing fate. Even if it is just an inch of skin, with his current level of cultivation, the little spiritual energy he has accumulated will be completely used up, and he will definitely not be able to recover in a few days. My arms can stretch freely. Chenshi raised his hands, so excited that he didn't know what to say. You try to get up. Go slowly at first so that you can adapt. Yi Daijin reminded weakly. Chenshi couldn't wait any longer. He took a deep breath and slowly stood up with the help of his wheelchair. Take 2 steps, it's okay, take 2 steps, yes, 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 hold on. Only a doctor could understand the excitement in Yi Daijin's heart. Seeing that she was walking more and more steadily, he finally couldn't hold on any longer. His head tilted and he fell directly to the ground. Da-Jen, someone come quickly. Chen Shi's heart skipped a beat and he immediately shouted. Soon, Chenlu rushed upstairs with a few bodyguards. She saw her sister holding Yi Daijin in her arms and patting his head constantly. At that moment, she couldn't believe her eyes. Sister, can your arm move normally? Don't worry about me first, call an ambulance quickly. Quickly. Woo, Daijin, wake up. Chen Shi was completely panicked. There was no way not to panic. It was scary enough for a healthy person to suddenly faint, let alone Yi Daijin had been a vegetable for more than a year. Seeing her sister so anxious, Chenlu was also frightened at first, but when she got close, her expression suddenly became strange. Sister, I don't think it's necessary to call an ambulance. What? Look, his drool is all over your clothes. I guess he is too sleepy. Chenlu pouted and pointed. Chen Shi looked down and was instantly so embarrassed that he wished he could find a hole to crawl into. Okay, leave 2 people behind to carry her to her sister's room, and everyone else go down. Yes, second miss. Miss, leave the person to us. As they were talking, the 2 bodyguards who stayed behind had already carried Yi Daijin and were walking towards Chen Shi's bedroom. Sister, let me help you up. No need. I can do it myself. Chen Shi waved his hand, then stood up with the help of the chauffeur. Seeing this scene, the little girl covered her mouth and widened her beautiful eyes. Don't make anything known for now. Go downstairs and eat first. You don't have to wait for me. As he spoke, Chen Shi had already sat back in the wheelchair, controlling the direction and following. You guys go out. After entering the room, she immediately waved away the bodyguards, and the moment she closed the door, she rushed to the bed impatiently. Looking at him sleeping soundly, she couldn't help but think of her own misbehavior just now. You were sleeping so soundly, you almost scared me to death. Sister, am I disturbing you? Just then, Chenlu poked her head in and looked over. Now that you're here, come in. Chen Shi quickly sat up straight and calmed down. What is going on? Chenlu closed the door and took small steps to sit on the bed. Chen Shi naturally had nothing to hide from his own sister, and immediately told her about the magical scene that had just happened. Chenlu's eyes were full of stars. Oh my god, you didn't lie to me, didn't you? Isn't this a plot that only happens on TV? What do you know, little girl? There are so many strange people in this world. When we were young, Uncle Lei Gong who was beside Grandpa could crack a big rock with one fist. I don't remember how old I was at that time. Chenlu said excitedly, doesn't that mean you will recover soon? I don't know, but I feel that his current condition is related to the treatment he gave me just now. Chen Shi shook his head, but the look he gave Yi Daijin was clearly filled with worry. But Chenlu's focus was not on this at all. She moved closer to her and said with a smile, so will I be able to call you brother-in-law soon? Being questioned by his sister, Chen Shi felt his face burning, and he scolded, adult matters are very complicated, just concentrate on learning your knowledge and don't get involved in other things. I'm an adult now. Chenlu said proudly. Chen Shi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yes, you are an adult, but you are little smart. Go eat quickly. I'm such an adult, I got my period today. Chen Shi. That's normal for your age, so let me tell you what to watch out for. No need, my brother-in-law has explained it in more detail than you. Okay, I won't bother you 2 anymore. You just want to chase me away, right? I can leave and not delay your good things. What are you talking about, you damn girl? My good deeds. Looking at the closed door, Chenshi didn't know whether to cry or laugh. But at this moment, the cell phone on the wheelchair suddenly rang. Seeing that the caller ID was Songbo, Chenshi immediately suppressed all his emotions and walked to the balcony with his phone. Uncle Song, if you don't want to find me, I'll call you too. Miss, do you also doubt Dr. Yi's affairs? Chenshi looked back at Yi Daejin, who was sleeping soundly, and his voice gradually became lowered. You are an old man next to your mother, you are thoughtful, tell me what you think. Through our secret investigations over the past few years, I suspect that the people who harmed Xiao Yi and the young lady are most likely from the same group, and their ulterior motives are other than drinking. I once advised you, young lady, not to expose your weaknesses. Uncle Song wanted to say something, but Chenshi didn't want to listen anymore, so he interrupted coldly. I understand what you said. Keep a close eye on the Chen and Song families. I feel like the person behind this will show up soon. Clear. Oh, by the way, go buy a cell phone and some clothes and shoes. I'll send you the sizes later. Miss, you just said you understood everything. He's different. If anyone touches him, I'll kill him. Chenshi snorted coldly and hung up the phone.